예. Yes. I think. Yeah. Hey, how are you? You good? I hope that you're good. Um, well, we have a bunch of news to address, don't we? And by that, I mean laughing at a bunch of idiots on Reddit. That's going to be a big part of this. We're also going to be laughing at a bunch of idiots at the previous comment that we put up because we just know what the exact prediction response is. Don't you think it's just going to be this over and over again? You're just shill. You're very weak. Labour Party's weak. I'm hip strong. I'm hip strong. I'd tax the mining industry. It'll just be that over and over again. But we'll see what the responses are. Oh my God, what are you wearing? That's for me to know and you to find out. Come on, as if you don't know what this is. It's clearly the Fijian flag. And then we are going to be discussing a most recent birthday bash that was uploaded to Hancock Prospecting that was unlisted. I have heard that it's not as juicy as the one that we originally put out, but there might be some gold in there. Who knows? If you excuse me for a second, I need to close this magical door before we begin. All right. Let's do it to it. Let's just go through the criticisms of the video. This is always fun. Let's move into Watcher, shall we? Yeah, there we go, right there. Here we go. Mate, I don't know how or why you would imagine the profits from Australia's resources belong to anyone other than the American-based multinational companies. Very good. My park's flooded, Geordie. Why did Albo do this? Well, obviously, because you're a bad person. That's clearly why. What, are you part of the Brisbane place, are you? Huh? I haven't really been paying attention to the flood. Sorry, it's a Queensland thing. But what happened with that? Was it a fizz? What's going on? Is it really bad, or is it kind of like nowhere near as bad as it could have been? Is that the upshot of the floods? The cyclone, sorry. See, I'm so New South Wales pilled, I can't even use the right name. How'd it go? You can end the stream now and afford a Happy Meal. That's very true. That's a good fiver right there. Anyway, let's just go back to this. Mate, I don't know if you do measure resources. Yes, it's very good, very good. Yes. Very witty. 808 likes too. Far out. He's a liked boy. Well done. Let's move to the next one. Not on board with your message of we can't do anything, so we shouldn't try. That wasn't the message, mate. Maybe you should, I don't know, pay attention to the video in the future. Then you might actually get it. I love it when people just say after watching a video like, here's the upshot of it, something that you didn't say at all. Anyway. We already have politicians doing that. Don't need you doing it as well. We don't have politicians doing that. We don't. You're just wrong on your first sentence. What we have is politicians that have been taxing and regulating the mining industry. That was a big part of that video. Another big part of that video was that they are making the Future Made in Australia policy, which is huge. It's so ambitious. It's trying to turn Australia into like a Middle Eastern gas giant, but for renewables. That's the aim of it. Hang on, let me just go into this. $5. Peter Dutton abandoned Queensland to try and spend time with his rich mate. Oh yeah, the Ivy thing? Yeah. Well, that's New South Wales based, so I am quite aware of that. Hanging out with old Hems, yeah. Peter Dutton and the hippie, eh? Hashtag blessed. And then Love Poet just posted $2. Good for you. Thank you. Now let's just move back to this. I'm proud to have donated to your lawyers fund and have no regrets about that. You were fighting the good fight. You were taking on real big criminals. Seems like that has changed. Sad emoji. Oh, so in other words, this is what this man is saying. Endlessly try and kill yourself for my amusement, and I will continue to pay for that. But I misunderstood and misrepresented a video that you just released, and that's your fault somehow. You've changed. No, buddy, you're just stupid. Anyway, Cyclone Alfred was a bit of a fizz, but Brisbane floods, if you spit on it, were hang on. Sorry, it just you keep moving the screen. Cyclone Alfred was a bit of a fizz, but Brisbane floods if you spit on it. So we're dealing with that. Oh, okay. So at least there was some natural disasters that really hurt Queensland. As long as that happened, I'm happy. Yeah. So it was really bad. Yeah, it sounded like it was a fizz. And then what? So you got some floods afterwards. And as usual, Brisbane has become the smelly paradise that it is. Can we get a Liberal government for old times? I don't know why not, Wilkstar. The Liberal government! Legends. Thank you for the $20, by the way, man. Move on to the next comment. Yes, it's very hard to fight the mining industry, but the attitude that we shouldn't try... No. Guys, can you please pay attention to the video before commenting? Actually, I think this guy didn't watch the video before commenting. I think I remember reading this one. It's too hard is a cop-out, I reckon. Oh, really? Really? And what have you done to fight the mining industry, good sir? What have you done in comparison to the Labor Party, which we've gone through as 100 years of them taking on the mining industry, is the key reason that they're continually out of politics. And then everybody just keeps... A big part of that video was just conflating over and over again the fact that the mining industry always has the Liberal Party to go to endlessly throughout history, except for that one time with Gordon. Once in its entire history for a nanosecond, and then he was cooed. How is that a cop-out? How is 100 years of them under the thumb, completely holding the government at their behest? How is this a cop-out just because you reckon? Can you actually address any of the points in the video ever? You just keep saying over and over, it's easy, just do this thing that every government ever that's tried to do it has been cooed. It's easy, it's a cop-out. We should be trying to tax them, which is exactly what the Labor Party has done. This is something that you just obviously didn't notice in the video at all, but I'll go through it again. They are paying record taxes under the Labor government now. They are paying record taxes under them. They will be paying more because there is more of their multinational tax avoidance laws that are world leading that over the next few years are going to start ramping up. Let's just go back into these comments for a second. Hey, Geordies, do you think the landslide WA win will affect the federal election later this year? I hope so. Probably not. Thank you, though. It's getting scary. NFTU, the Orthodox News and Apologist, we need you on Rattlesnake and Wilson's Not One Step Back. Okay, but I don't know what any of that is. So sure, why not? What is this, a porno or something? Voting for Albanese is easy peasy. Can we shorten that? It'll be easy peasy under Albanese. Done that without saying it won't be easy under Albanese. He should have had that as a response. He'd probably be in a much larger, healthier majority now of like 80 seats. My backyard fence got destroyed. We now in Queensland have Albo giving out cyclone relief that won't have to be paid back. What? What are you talking about? My backyard and fence was destroyed. We now in Queensland have Albo giving out cyclone relief that won't have to be paid back. Well, that's cool, isn't it? That's mad. Cyclone relief? That sounds sick. What is it? Just like some tiny titties or something. Copy my name and be black-pilled Geordies already. Black-pilled Kiwi. But I'm not a Kiwi. How am I supposed to copy it? Let's move to the next. Jesus. So many people. I was trying to get through some damn comments here. Can we please get a chainsaw? Yes, you can. You don't look very sick. Why weren't you on the pod? Oh, I was. You have no idea how sick I was. God damn. I honestly think that in terms of sickness, or unwell people, I should say, it goes burn victims, then me. Just before the burn victims. I have never been that out of it my entire life. Bedridden for 4 days. Couldn't move. I remember seeing the sun go down each day while I was in writhing agony, and then sitting there, unable to sleep, and then here it comes again. 4 days. 4 days. I'm still screwed now, but I will never complain ever again about a cold or a flu or COVID or whatever the hell I had. I will never, ever, ever complain about it ever again. That was terrible. I've never had anything like that. But thank you for your concern, saying that I'm faking it. It's not your fault that your message of your video is lost on complete idiots. Keep fighting the good fight, comrade. Oh, thank you very much, Jay Good. I will do so continually because I have realized that I basically am one of these Redditors and can't ever back down from an argument, frankly. So, but I do appreciate that. I like the new video. Good work. Thank you very much, Lee White. And thank you for the $5. I very much like that. Hey, Jongdon, Canada for 51st state. Why not? Why not? Just chuck it in. I always wondered why it isn't a 51st state to begin with. Video on Australia Institute coming. Jungle potatoes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anyway, failing to do so will lead to Australia becoming a third world economy once mining dries up. Well, that's hundreds of years away, mate. But also, on top of that, no, that is the entire point. That's one of the major points of the video that this guy just made that comment before even reading it. One of the major points is Future Made in Australia. Future Made in Australia is huge. Future Made in Australia makes sure that we have a future in Australia because it is about bringing an entire manufacturing base to Australia. This is huge stuff. Green technology, as far as the eye can see, getting produced and manufactured in Australia. The entire point of this country would just be to decarbonize the economy. Now, how's that for a vision? Let's move to the next one. Translation, you can't hope for anything better, kids. Just vote Labor and shut up. Yeah, more or less. More or less. But the thing is, on top of that, no, the whole point of that video is that the Labor Party is moving on to a different battlefield. Yeah? Okay? Like, the whole, oh, why can't we just have taxes like Norway, only works if both sides of politics are willing to tax it like Norway. The Liberal Party has routinely showed that they are not going to do it. So you can sit there and simplify it as much as you want to just be like, yeah, I'm heaps smug and whatever. But it's like, do you have an alternative? None of you have an alternative. You just go like, politicians suck and they should do more for me personally while I do fuck all. Like, you've got nothing to say, really. But the point is that, yeah, vote Labor and shut up because they are making the Future Made in Australia policy. And the Future Made in Australia policy is going to make us unfathomably richer, unfathomably more educated, and a really good actor globally. A really good actor globally. We will be at the helm, at the absolute forefront of decarbonising the planet. That is a vision worth fighting for. Now, let's go into some more comments, shall we? Albo's thing is an allowance. What the hell are you talking about? Guys, you really have to understand something. I sit there and autistically focus on, say, mining policy for weeks of my life. I don't look at the news.com articles. I don't know what the allowance is. I've been out of power for about the same amount of time. Oh, because of the cyclone. Wow. Hey, what's it like? Hang on. How are you out of power? You're on now. I'm sure you've got a good explanation. Thank you for the $2. $5. When meals with Miss Love, get him in that suit. Oh, that would be sick. What is the suit? Okay, let's just look at it. Hang on. Meals on wheels. Is this what we're talking about, boys? Hang on, if I can just stop the caps lock. There we go. Meals on wheels. All right, let's see if we get some nice images there of what that looks like. Ah, she's a nice young lady, isn't she? I'm sure she's not doing it because of community service. You gave me the same thing last time! Let's see if we've got anything else. Well, I mean, we'd all like to see Miss Love in that, wouldn't we? Red-pilled American friend is sharing online petitions for autonomy for Aussie property that is owned internationally, and I don't think he even knows where Australia is. Sylvia, that is the funniest comment I've ever gotten, and it was wrapped up in $10. Oh, that's gold. Thank you for telling me that. Mr. Funk's $5. Funky. Thank you. 10. Were you having heroin withdrawals? Always, constantly. I mean, there's a reason that I don't put my hands up most of the time. You can do two things at once, kids. Let me tell you that. $10 just for Badush. Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice of you. Do you think that climate change has anything to do with the cyclone on the Gold Coast and Brisbane? No. I don't know. I don't know. Look, cyclones are inevitably going to happen in Queensland. But I think that we can all agree, probably, that the magnitude of them surely has been affected at this point. Surely. Although, did anyone else see that quaint British man that put up that YouTube video of the climate change and the good news about it? The news is good. The news is really good. Man, if I was more of a professional Twitch streamer, I would so steal his views for money. I would do it. That guy was great. I love that guy. When are you getting more rabbits? You need more bongoloids. What the hell's a bongoloid? Dude, please stop unloading rabbits on me. They never stop pissing. Well, I still don't know what you're talking about there, sir, but we will continue on. All right, let's move on to the next target. So the argument here is that it's not a good idea because it's a bad economic policy or isn't ultimately good for the people, that it would be too hard to make reality, so why bother? Idiot. First off, are you paying attention? Do you have a solution? Okay? Do you have a solution? Stop just whinging and saying, oh, it's too hard, so I shouldn't do anything. You're not doing anything. You're making YouTube comments. That's all you're doing. The Labor Party has a 100-year proud tradition of trying to tax them. Is still taxing them to this day. What are you doing? You just sit there and go like, oh, so this half-hour video that was extremely well researched and I actually don't have any comeback to anything that is in the video. It sucks because it makes me feel bad. I understand why stating the facts of all the failed attempts at taxing these corporations and the difficulties behind them is important, but the message shouldn't be that it's not worth the trouble. It should be to look at how far these corporations will go to subvert Australian interests for their own gain, and that we need to approach the situation in a way where real systemic change can be made without them being able to stomp it out of the public consciousness. I'm sorry, dude, but that is wishful thinking. It's not happening, because guess what? Sorry, I was quite rude to you because you actually were it was a quite measured response. But like, that's not happening. And I'll tell you why it's not happening. Because the vast majority of people aren't interested in politics. And the people that are interested in politics, let's be honest, are mentally ill. Okay? There is no way that you are ever going to train the consciousness of 100% of Australia. You're not even going to get 50%. You're not even going to get 20%. Most people don't care about politics. The people that do care about politics usually only care as an extension of their own narcissism. And as a result of that, people are not even going to be voting on this. That's the other thing. Because this is the whole thing. If you have unlimited money, this was all explained in the video. If you have unlimited money, which is what the mining industry has, they can spend literally hundreds of billions of dollars if they wanted to, but, you know, let's change back a bit. You wouldn't have to, but like a cool bill, easily like that. Just figuring out what the public is thinking, because that's very easy to do in this day and age, and then specifically put a bunch of ad spend in micro-targeting their very specific concerns. I'm sorry, but sitting there and being like, oh, we should just raise the consciousness on a YouTube channel. No, the aim of it should be to point out to everybody, guys, the Australian Labor Party is moving beyond this shit of just like this old school Norway shit of, oh, let's just keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result of just a shit government in for the next decade. Instead of doing that, how about we build an entire new industry so we are not at the behest of the mining industry anymore? How about we do that instead? Why is this not visionary? Why is this the only thing that you... Unless you're copying Norway, which is one, impossible. Two, is completely different historic circumstances to us. Three, it's not even that good. It's not even that good. Because even if it does go through, there is a bunch of problems with the Sovereign Wealth Fund that never brought up. One of the major ones is that they sit there and say that, oh, it's just this great little, like, you know, utopic thing. Guys, superannuation has $4 trillion in it now. $4 trillion. It has double or close to double what the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund has. It would have been good. That would have been great. It'd be great if we had access to our resources. That is not the way that Australia was developed. And so as a result of that, you have to look at reality and think, okay, let's move this country in a very exciting way that no one seems to give any credit to. Instead, what you have is just this Australia Institute funded propaganda where they just pump this out into the narrative of anybody that is remotely interested in politics and saying to them over and over again, oh, let's just be like Norway. Why can't we be like Norway? Never explaining why you can't. And the only reason that they are doing it is that they can get a bunch of lib-lights elected, the Teals. They're the ones that never shut up about this shit. They're the ones that are constantly sitting there being like, it's just crazy. Why are we just doing it? And then the only reason that they're going in is so that they can cut workers' wages. That's all this is. It's all just a big propagandic con to cut your wages. At the end of the day, that is the only reason anybody even focuses on this stuff. When you could be focusing on one, the Labor Party is regulating them heavily, is taxing them more than they've ever been taxed in the last decade and ramping it up further. You could be focusing on that, and you could be focusing on the fact that they are trying to create an entire new industry that will make, the fact that we are just this backwards oligarchy run by a few fucking mining barons, an obsolete, old event that's back in the future. Like, in fact, if you wanted the way to actually start taxing the oligarchs, the main way to do that is to make sure that they aren't the primo power in this country, that there are other interests in here that are just as crucial to the economy and just as large and could front up the capital to fight the information war. That's how you would do it. That's what Labor is doing with the Future Made in Australia Fund. There is a reason that Peter Dutton is so heavily against it. We'll continue on. So your answer, friendly Geordies, is Labor should just keep chasing the LNP to the bottom. See, here we go. Like, why do you even bother? Is there even a point talking to someone who's that dumb? Like, if that is seriously what you got from that video, I really can't help you, buddy. You really, are you 5? Anyway, this video made me visit the Australian government website voluntarily for the first time in my life. The essence of the Future Made in Australia policy is something that I have thought about for many years. Feels unreal to see it outlined in an official bill. I had no idea about it until this video for FFS. There you go. There you go. That's the message that you're supposed to get out of that video. Right there. That is the main message. The whole message is there is a new fight happening, guys. And this fight is winnable. And this fight could very easily be lost before it even began, which is creating that entire new green industry. This is the fight. Instead, you have the Australia Institute for its own nefarious, evil reasons sitting there trying to sink the Workers' Party that came up with the Future Made in Australia policy that is delivering it as we speak. But it is in its nascent stages. And if it had a few years to build itself, this is exactly the same thing with a bunch of these grand government policies. Grand government policies, yes, they're announced. Then they're rolled out. Then a decade later, they start actually bearing fruit. This is what the Future Made in Australia policy would be like. You look at that a decade from now, this is going to be bringing huge rewards for this country, massive rewards. Just in terms of being like a good global citizen, isn't it an exciting thought that instead of just being exporters of coal, we're going to be exporters of hydrogen and renewables and electric car batteries? That will be our main exports with Future Made in Australia, along with supercomputers. This is big, big stuff. They never get any credit for it. Instead, they just get sat there. The whole point of that video is to sit there and say, no, they're not just as bad as each other. They're not just going to a race to the bottom. That is not what's happening. That is just a lie. That is just a straight up lie. That's the first part of that video. The second part of that video is, this is huge. What this guy's cottoned onto is massive. And it's a winnable fight. It's a winnable fight. But instead, people just keep harking back like it's 1970s Australia. And that's the big fight, to nationalise the mines or whatever. Guys, it's not even on the table. It's not going to happen. You can have these bunch of independents that just tell you exactly what you want to hear, or you can get on board with what is truly exciting. Anyway, that's that. Let's look at these other ones. Love you, dude. Keep up the good work. P.S. I just lost the game. What game did you lose? My Chemical Goose. What game was that? That's very sad. I don't want you to lose any games. Let's see what else we've got. FMIA, Future Made in Australia, by the way. Let's move here. Might be a decent vote getter in WA. At work, we're using it as part of our pitch for foreign investment to take our mining project downstream into battery chemistry products. Really? That's incredible, Matthew. I didn't know that it was at that stage. That's really advanced. This is what I'm talking about. The Future Made in Australia policy, everybody, the big criticism that I've seen so far is just the same one as like the half of, oh, it's only $22 billion. The whole point of Future Made in Australia is exactly the same thing as the half, really, which is to start tying in superannuation investment, start tying in private investment. So it's really hard to dislodge. And what that guy's talking about right there, that's already happening. Huge stuff. Thank you very much, Matthew. What did you think about WA's Made in WA plan? It's basically the same thing on the state level. Didn't even know they were doing it. But good on them. Good on them. Honestly, if WA wants to secede, they've earned the right. They're smarter than us. Look at that. Just a sea of red. 2 elections in a row. You know what I heard the other day as well? The Liberals probably can't get in for another 8 years at this. That would be a stretch for them at this point. Go WA. Good work. Look, I'm a huge fan of it. This whole making a manufacturing base in Australia again, but is like green. A green manufacturing base. This is the Green New Deal stuff that the Americans wish that they could pass through. This is happening in Australia. Love your work. You do so much that truly matters. Thank you very much. And thank you for the $20 as well, Zaria. Could you say trans rights are human rights and call out Dutton and Christopher for taking our community? I didn't even know who he was. I got no idea. Yeah, well, actually, you know what? I would imagine that he's probably just playing exactly the same thing as the Trump card, right? Like, dude, oh my God. Isn't it depressing about humanity that, a president is elected in 2024? It's truly idiocracy stuff. And he does his little inaugural speech. And he's sitting there and he's just going through the usual Republican talking points that are all terrifying. Like, we've appointed 300 federal judges. The Supreme Court is entirely in our control for at least the next few decades. We've got the Congress. We got the Senate. We're going to be cutting back on all of the renewables technology. And then everybody's just performatively, yeah. And then he says, and also there are only 2 genders. And then the entire audience erupts. That's what you voted for a president, for that. Oh my God. It's so terrifying, isn't it? It's so scary that this is what human beings focus on. Like, I'm sorry, democracy doesn't work. It really doesn't. This is what you're fighting against. What have we got next? You're one of the few people I've watched that can make political slop humorous and enjoyable. Thank you. That's a very nice comment. As is the $50. I appreciate it a lot. I can't stand someone ranting shite unless they actually have a point at what they are discussing. Thanks, Jordan. Have a snag and bread. Thank you for bought me more than that for 50, mate. So thank you. And relax after the stream. Dude, you know what? Honestly, if Bunnings was open at this point, I would totally get a snag. That is a great suggestion. The random dude. What a king. $20. That guy was 50, but this guy's 20. So ready for a world-class economy on your Geordies. Don't you think? Don't you think that this is exciting? We really should be thinking about this. This is what should be focused on in the next election. It's truly a crime that it's not. Let's move on to the next thing. We've got some Reddit posts. Let's read through them together. And also, just let me know if you like doing this, because I would very much like to just start reading out Reddit posts for a living and getting easy slop stream cash off of it. Let's see if it works though, eh? Together as friends. Hang on, just before we do. $2 poo, very good. $5, I'm going to make a bet that the Liberals lose the next election. They won't talk about nuclear. God, I hope that that's the end of that. Oh my God. Look, I will say this. I am very happy about the general trajectory of the planet when it comes to climate change. That is the first time in my adult life where I'm starting to think, it's turning around. It's turning around fast. Ask Miss Love if Arctic made songs where the pro-Australia Labor would still vote Labor. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Lemon Warrior, $5. These people who are like Socialist Club at uni, they keep hassling me. Their goal is to overthrow the government, the Australian government. They're so insufferable, aren't they? There's so many cringy people that are into politics, isn't there? Any thoughts on New Zealand politics? The Liberals have copied the Nats election slogan and we're miserable. Yeah, I just did a video. It's up on Patreon at the moment. Thank you very much for your $20, by the way, James. But actually, I will just go into this for a second. What has happened to New Zealand is such a good warning for Australia. It really is. Because that's what we would have looked like under the coalition during the cost of living crisis. There, but for the grace of God goes us. You New Zealanders, those Kiwis, they got really hammered over the last few years. Really hammered. As in, they're refugees here now. And we're not even talking about the shitty dole bludgers that come here and be like, yeah, bro, I'll just do some road work, hey, like not those guys. I'm talking about teachers and stuff going, excuse me, you wouldn't have any more jobs at your private school, would you? Those people are here now. I wish that they'd get them. Now, let's move on to some guy on Australian politics writing, how should I vote in the next Australian general election to address issues like lobbying, immigration, corporate greed, and foreign influence? Well, I think we all know the answer to that. But let's read on to this very thoughtful man's comment. I read it up. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out which political party or candidate aligns with my concerns for the upcoming general election. I'm passionate about a few key issues and would love your advice on how I should vote and push for real change. Isn't it so strange to read someone in this day and age that's sort of at the Republican Party town hall? Now, I usually lean Republican, but I am a very concerned citizen who makes up my mind every election. I voted for Obama because I thought he was very charming. Like, is this an old woman? Who thinks like this in our generation? I thought we were all just obnoxious, all of us. Let's see. Yes. I'd like to see these fixed by the next government, banning lobbying. I want to see a political system that isn't influenced by big corporations or special interests. Well, I really don't understand what people want from politicians. What do they want from Canberra? I really think that they don't know themselves. It's such fuzzy, nebulous, corporations shouldn't influence the government at all, nor should special interests. What even qualifies as a special interest? At what point? What are you stopping? So, Mid-Nurse Wives Association, are they not allowed to meet with the government? You know? Is the Four-Wheel Drive Alliance allowed to meet with the government? What about the Four-Wheel Drive Alliance that wants a specific promise that we can continue to whack our paddies in beaches? What about them? Are they allowed to meet? These are all special interests in inverted commas. I tell you what is special interest that nobody ever really talks about, minor parties. That is just straight up special interest embedded into the government. That's all they are, just a few pet issue psychos that are just running on a general vibe of if one nation is in there will be zero migrants tomorrow, or if the Greens are in, climate change will be solved. Like, this is special interest. But in terms of banning lobby, so that's like banning lobbying, right? Like, it's just a very silly thought. It's a very silly thought. In fact, I would go further. I don't even know how you govern under any system. Like, I'm sure in the Soviet Union, people that were, I don't know, representing the cement workers of the Soviet Union or whatever, were talking to the Kremlin. What are you talking about? What, you want the government to be siloed off and never speak to any peak body? Is that what you're saying? But anyway, that isn't influenced by big corporations or special interests. Well, I will tell you, if we're going to be perfectly honest, let's be very fair throughout all of this, right? The Labor Party, we'll start with the Labor Party, just for a change of things. The Labor Party is the party that just passed the most significant donation reforms in 40 years. I have 2 videos, another one that we just filmed again to just soak up. I've done a big Twitch stream about this as well. It went on for 4 hours. 4 hours discussing just how big of the lies that were told by the quote-unquote independents that are quote-unquote independent, even though they're extremely dependent on billionaire donations. The reason that they, after sitting there going like, we need transparency in government, we need to get money out of politics. As soon as they're offered it, they just change their tune to, oh, we just meant the major parties. Only the major parties should get money out of politics. We should continue to have as many billionaires donate to us as we like. That was the entire crossbench. Everyone from Clive Palmer to the Teals to Fatima Payman to, what's her name? The freak. Crackhead. Jackie Lambie. Like all of them. But virtually everyone on the crossbench, bar Rebecca Sharkey, that you've never even heard of in your life. And why haven't you heard of her? Because she's actually not paid for by billionaires. She is not influenced by lobbyists. Well, maybe she is influenced by lobbyists. I think everybody is. It's just human nature. But in terms of money, $40,000 I think she ran on. $40,000. She thinks that those donations were good, right? So, if you're going to be fair, the Liberals did vote for them. As always, the Liberals did make it a little bit worse, but whatever, I will give them credit for it. The Liberals and the Labor Party both voted to reduce the amount of money in elections. That is crucial because Australia is in jeopardy of becoming one of those countries like America where it's just runaway election spending every single year. It goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And that has been perturbed. And you got to give it to credit where it's due. The Liberals did come around finally towards the end. But it really does show how bad the crossbench really is. And the only reason that people don't think that they're bad is purely because they have the name independent and people are that easily duped that they sit there and think, oh, well, they've got the name independent. That means that they never talk to lobbyists and they never run off of billionaire influence. They're independent thinkers, even though they all have exactly the same talking points. They're independent. Much love from WA, Monday's last brain cell. This is $50. I rode around over the course of a couple of weeks talking to Vote Liberal national signs. I got about 210. Fight the power. Gina Gremlin army of 1 million serving billionaires. Vote 1 Labour. Hell yeah. So what? You went over and talked to the very, very few LNP voters that are left. That's interesting. Well, what did they say Monday night's last brain cell? I'm very happy with how many people from WA pay attention to this podcast. I really do. It's like that and Queensland. You're just God's people, both of you. I really do love you. I mean, Queensland are idiots. They really are dumb as shit. But you are my favourite people by a mile. You're just party animals. You're really, really cool guys. Yes, what else have we got here? Stay safe, man. $20. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. It's very nice of you. All right, next one. Media propaganda overhaul. Getting rid of propaganda channels like Sky News. Hang on, let me just. Media propaganda overhaul. Getting rid of propaganda channels like Sky News. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know what would constitute as propaganda. On Friendly Geordies, we're always trying to make the point that literally everything you ever consume is propaganda. So if you are going out to the propaganda model, where do you stop? Do you stop at the Sydney Morning Herald? Because that's, like, I think just as bad. The ABC, I think, is terrible. Do you stop at us? Because I would definitely, absolutely consume put the new media in propaganda. Yes, I'm including myself. I'm including you as propaganda. Literally anyone that ever writes or expresses an opinion ever is propaganda. So what? Are you just saying get rid of Sky News? It's not going to happen. And that's really like slippery slope stuff. When do you stop? But having said that, you know, that is the one thing that I do disagree with the Labor Party on. And it seems that you do because they want the misinformation bill through. And the Liberals and the Greens did want it, but then they realised, like, oh, this is not a vote grab, and then they voted it out. But whatever, the reasons... Look, that is one of the very, very, very few instances that I will give props to the Greens and the Liberals. Other than that, they are terrible, shitty parties. But like, you know, credit where it's due. We'll be good about that. A fair go at jobs, making hiring criteria merit-based again rather than hiring people from the same race or country. Shouldn't you be a Sky News viewer? What else is it? Pausing immigration. I think that we need to pause to better manage, integrate, and educate our population rather than solely on immigration, which is now a cesspool of rorts. Look, I'll tell you one thing. There's two parties. If you're concerned about migration, two parties you absolutely shouldn't be voting for. I don't really know what the Teal's position on it is, and frankly, I don't really care. But the Greens and the Liberals. Terrible, both of them. Absolutely appalling records on both of it. The fact that they can sit there and say, oh, Labor put in 1 million migrants. That was... I really don't know how dumb you would have to be to believe that. That was because of COVID. That was because of COVID. During COVID, the borders shut down. But there were people that were still applying to get into the country, and they had applied legally under the laws that were set up by the coalition. You can't just retroactively come in and say, jokes, new government, you're all out. That is not how the law works. On top of that, unfortunately, this is what happens when you don't have a government in, like the Albanese government, that is building future made in Australia. You have to disproportionately rely on migrants. This is why no one gives the credit that the free TAFE positions deserve. That is arguably, honestly, I do think this. I seriously do think this might be the most important thing that the Albanese government has done. Hands down. Hands down, it could be the most important thing. Because over the long trajectory of time, that is going to reduce migration. Because you actually have a population that is skilled enough to do the jobs that we need migration for in the first place. On top of that, they will be upskilled. They will be more educated. They will be earning more, which means that you can pull back the amount of migrants coming in that you just need for growth in the economy. Because as I'm always saying, really at the end of the day, there's two ways to grow the economy. The first one is to just jam people into it. And the second one is that you can upskill the people that are already here. And the Albanese government is doing that. They're the only ones that wanted meaningful cuts to migration. The Liberals and the Greens, obviously the Greens are always just going to sit there and be like, that's racist. Not allowing everyone in the country is racist. Having a border, even though we're an island, is literally racism. So obviously they're always going to reject it because it's just, again, they're not interested in what's actually good for the country. They're just interested in the vibe. So they blocked it. But then this is astonishing to me. The Liberal Party did break with the Greens and they blocked it. And then only when they started getting flack for it in the press, they went, oh, okay. And then they let it pass through. But it does tell you everything that you need to know about the Liberal Party, which is they're not serious on migration. If you want to know why we have these outrageous numbers now, this all does hark back to the Howard years. Howard profoundly changed this country. This is what's good about the Albanese model, right? Which is that you give someone 10 years, you absolutely fundamentally change the country. Absolutely. But John Howard had 10 years, and the changes that he made to this country, huge. This is where you started getting that sliding of quality in TAFEs, this sliding of education. So the skills base of Australia started drying up, and then you had to replace it with migration. And migration has to stay at really high, unsustainable levels because it's the only way that you can produce economic growth. This is a quandary problem. You can't just, I'm pausing migration tomorrow. That's not how the economy works. If that happened immediately tomorrow, you'd be in recession and you'd be sitting there and complaining about how the government brought you into recession. You know, like these things are all connected. You can't just make some big change here and not expect massive changes throughout. But the only one that is consistently shown that it is wanting to slowly turn the tap off is the Labor Party. Now, let's look into some more comments before we continue on. Do you think your definition of the word propaganda might make the word useless? I hope so. I seriously hope it does, because honestly, at the moment, it is just a weaponized word. I seriously think that. It's just something that someone uses to discredit someone else. Oh, you're propaganda. That's it. And also, it is just part of the propaganda model to make that the propaganda word, you know? Let's see what else. WA's slogan should be the smart state, except for Churchland's. What? Do you think Kerry Stokes made a mistake parachuting in Basil Zimpoulos into... Was that Kerry Stokes' idea? Into WA Parliament rather than federal Parliament? Ooh, that's a good question, and I don't know the answer. He didn't perform as well as people thought he was going to perform, though, didn't he? He did all right, but he was a bit of a fizzer. Am I wrong? Man, if I was him, though, I'd be wanting to go into federal. Jesus Christ, why the hell would you want to go into state parliament as a Liberal in WA? Two things I've learned from you. How completely you brought out Australia-based research bodies are how completely brought out our Australia-based research bodies are absolutely terrifying. How Australia has been completely scammed by mining corporations and by default John Howard. Good on you. Good on you, Nathan. That is the message that you are supposed to be getting. Finally, at least one person gets it. Appreciate it. Posting again because Dixon's in the marginal seat of Queensland. Vote 1, Ali France. If you're in Dixon, help us. Share the post and volunteer so we're close. Now, Zaria, tell me about this because I am genuinely curious. Do you think you have a shot? I mean, it is the opposition leader. He is very good at maintaining marginal seats. You think you got him this time? Let me know. Do let me know. Friendly Geordies, I know that you want to do content on Tassie because you see it as a lost cause. You don't want to do it as, but you see it as a lost cause. But can you please say something constructive for Tasmania Labor Party down here as their media presence isn't great? Well, it's just, this is the really scary thing about the Labor Party in Tasmania. That is what you would get if you get this like European style parliament. You get that. That's what you start getting. Exactly what happens in Europe. Nothing. Everything that happens in Europe is just cobbled together, worthless coalitions as these things start falling apart and bickering because it is just disproportionate power that you are giving to a bunch of psychos as independents of minor parties that sit there and don't really have to deliver anything except for the image that they are culturally delivering to their audience. That's it. Just culturally giving off the vibe that they're tough on migration or tough on the environment or whatever it is. That's what you get. You get Tasmania. So thank God that we don't have that system in Australia. I'll tell you that now. I'm not sure I know the answer, but does either the normie crowd or the teal voters know or care about the difference between nuclear fusion and nuclear fission and nuclear fusion technology? I do mostly, but am I the only one? Yeah, no, that's a real Reddit Autist thing. That's not, no normies would know the difference between it. I appreciate your work immensely, mate. Makes me happy to see someone actually doing some honest reporting in Australia. Keep going with this live format. Thank you very much, DPK. That's very nice of you. Appreciate it. $14 just for no reason from our Pooey. Hell yeah. Have we gone through most of the big boys? I think we have. Yes, all right. Well, we'll continue on. We'll move on from that. Oh, this is gold. Okay. Check this out. I think this is still going. If it's not, yeah, no, it's dead. All right. Let me just read through something that has been brought to my attention recently from one of my researchers. It's gold. It's so good. Let me just say here. You up? Bye, mystery man.
The other two.
I'll miss you.
The other two are here.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah,
I
hope so. Jesus. How can you fix me? Let me just find this for a second. Okay, dig this. All right. Okay. The ABC Promise Tracker. Let me just see something because everybody just seems to be talking about this comment. One sec. Hello, my name is John Basil. I love friendly Johnnies and will make Australasia great again. Please vote for Pauline Hanson. Thank you. Good night. For anybody who doesn't know, some guy just got John Barilaro's face. Hello, my name is John Baz Baralo. Esmeralda. Our women refuse to date these immigrants, so they will never integrate into our society. They will always be segregated. You're the devil worshipper. Yeah, anyway. This was incredible. While the ABC had its promise tracker up, apparently there was this big trend on Reddit of people sitting there and saying, look at all the broken promises Labor's done. So many broken promises. And if you look at it, the promise trackers, you should see the broken promises of the Labor Party. Check this out. This is some of them. One of the ones, this shows that you really can't win ever, right? You put this on Reddit and then everybody just starts ripping the head off of Labor for their broken promises. Here's the broken promises. How's this? One of them was the stage 3 tax cuts that they broke the promise of because they said that they were going to implement it the same way the Liberal Party did. And then they ended up giving you and the middle class and the lower class tax breaks. And this was this broken promise that they read it after years sitting there and being like, they shouldn't do stage 3 tax cuts. They turn around, give you the tax cut, and then they say, broken promise. Unbelievable. Another one is that they broke the promise of increasing the petroleum resource rent tax. This was huge. The petroleum resource rent tax ended up collecting a lot more than they originally anticipated. I think it was up to, what was it? A $6 billion increase or something like that. So what their big broken promise is that apparently Labor only promised to do one tax reform, and that wasn't the petroleum tax increase, but then they did increase petroleum tax increases so that you get more money for our resources. Oh man, another broken promise by the Labor Party. Shame, shame, shame. The other broken promise was the establishing 50 urgent care GP clinics. Because of the natural thing of reality, these urgent care clinics were late in getting set up. And this is a broken promise to them. So just the reality of, oh, okay, we'll put them out at this date. Oh, no, there's setbacks because of building constraints and construction times and all that kind of stuff. No, it didn't meet that deadline. So the fact that they built 75 GP clinics instead of 50 GP clinics, broken promise. You said that you built it by this time. Shame, Labor. Shame. Even though you overstepped the target massively. Here we go. $20 from Bahuma. How dare they give me a tax break? You can have it instead. Thank you for the $20. Samba, notice the new Queensland government removed energy jobs plan from the website. Sad, 54% liked Bruz 2.0. Loved you as you actually are an independent thinker. Thank you very much. When looking at the media landscape, enjoy this money from YouGov surveys. I do. You get money for that? Cool. Very cool. Sam, thank you very much for the kind words. That's a very nice comment. That's very nice about it, buddy. God, those YouGov polls really pay. Yeah, so anyway, that was one of those Reddit points. Let's move on to this one. Why isn't there more appetite to move away from the major parties? Oh, I can't wait for this guy to have some very original thoughts that no Redditor has ever had before, such as, did you know that we have preferential voting? Did you know that there are more parties than the majors, and the majors are basically the same as one another? Anyway, let's see how right we are about that. I've been reading on here for a while now. Where are we? Our Australian. Wow. What a diet, eh? With an upcoming election, I've noticed a massive uptick in political posts. Oftentimes, these are quite partisan to the major parties. Really? Really? On Reddit? I think someone's just fishing for karma points. Don't you? Oh, this is a view that you hear all the time on Reddit. Hey, the major parties are cool. All right. The most common line I've seen is encouraging people to vote for Labor because they're less bad. Hello, I am a concerned citizen who has never been on this pad before and don't understand how it works. I would just like to put in this totally unthought out, completely undesigned to get as many likes as possible on Reddit point. The Labor Party is less bad. That's not good enough. There's different parties out there. Such a liar. Dude, just come out and admit it. Like, you don't like the major parties. You're on a platform that's filled with a bunch of arse lickers like yourself that have exactly the same stupid viewpoint. Why are you just writing it out like, I am just a concerned citizen that has just noticed something that I'm definitely sure is going to get a lot of blowback on our politics, or where is it? Yeah, on our Australian. This is going to get so much blowback, guys. Shitting on the majors. Shitting on Labor specifically as well. Labor's definitely worse because they're less bad. That's always the point, isn't it? As a country with preferential voting. Dude, is this a Green staffer? Is this a Green staffer? Honestly. I can't believe it. In this day and age that they're still sitting there and try to sound like this was some mad, profound point that, oh, no one has ever thought about this before except me. Did you know that we have preferential voting? Never been said before. Now, hang on. This is frozen. Looks like I'm going to have to switch over. 1 second. I'm sick of this thing freezing up. I really am. I will get into it. I'm just going to try and find... Here we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the new comments. There we go. I think this is it. Yeah, I think we're here. All right. As a country with a preferential voting system, I really seem to struggle to see how this is a valid way to think about moving forward as a nation politically. Right? Well, okay. Oh my God, these people. Why do they have votes? Right now, our economy is in its worst shape since the early 1990s. Source, I'm going to have to see that. Australia's economy growing at slowest pace since the 1990s. Recession as households plunge back. Okay, so the reason that the Australian economy, which by the way, this is just a fact, the Australian economy is the second best managed in the world. In the world. And this guy is sitting there saying, oh, it sucks. I wonder why. It's almost as if two massive global events happened one after the other that we have slow growth in this country. I can't quite put my finger on why. What country, by the way, is having explosive growth at the moment? Can you name some for me? Especially in OECD developed economies. You should be thanking your lucky stars that we still are in growth. Most countries aren't, buddy. I can't believe this. This is such a dumb way of looking at the world. Is this what you get when you look at Reddit? Seriously. That you go, growth is bad at the moment. That could only be because of the government. This is really just straight up like, son, give me bad crop. Son, emperor's fault. Let's kill him. It's that stuff. Anyway, let's move on. We have a weak Aussie dollar. Why the fuck do you care? Are you a corn exporter or something? Why is this your metric of a bad economy? Overinflated property prices. Yeah. This is another OECD point. Where on planet Earth doesn't? What developed nation has good property prices? Name me one. If you're going to be sitting there and saying things like, oh, America has better property prices than we do or something like that, yeah, they also earn way less than we do. The reason our property prices are higher is because we have the wages to actually afford what is admittedly outrageous prices. But don't just sit there and pretend that there's some utopia that has figured out housing in the Western world. It hasn't happened. And I've got a big video coming out as the explainers as to why, but we'll continue on. Poor private sector growth. See, this is why you're really screwed if you spend your life on Reddit. This is the brain rot. These are the people that are shaping your opinions. These idiots. This is a man who says that we have poor private sector growth at the moment. Shock horror. Who in the world doesn't have that? What you should be looking at in times of crises, the big three should be, especially when we're talking about inflation, right? You should be looking at inflation. You should be looking at growth. Yes, okay, fine. Growth is slow. Yep, it is. It's slow everywhere. The globe is in a slow growth period, the slowest that it has been in decades. There is nothing a single nation can do about that. Anyway, that's one of them though. And then the other one, obviously, is you should be looking at employment. These are the big three. I'll notice the two of them weren't mentioned at all. And the reason that they weren't mentioned is because the Albanese government has created the most amount of jobs of any government in Australian history. Huge job growth. I'm thinking it's like something along the lines of 1.2 million or something like that at this point. I think that the best performer, the star player, was Malcolm Turnbull before that of 500,000. Guys, can I just make this point? That's big, especially in a cost of living crisis. You know what really helps with the cost of living crisis? Having a job. That really helps. That is 1.2 million people that are employed directly because of the policies of this government. A lot of those are in the public service as well. A lot of those are increasing jobs in aged care. A lot of them are increasing jobs in healthcare. This is where a lot of the job creation is. It's also in manufacturing. This is the setting up of the foundation of the country. If the country is fully employed, if everybody has better wages, that's what's really kept us out of the shit for like the last 50 years. It's honestly just been the fact that we have the Labor Party protecting wage growth in this country. And he's sitting there and complaining. This is honestly astonishing that we have slow private growth in this country. We have not much private investment in comparison to before COVID, I'm guessing, is the main argument here. And then he puts up as a source, Australia would be in recession without public spending. But we might have lower interest rates. Just remember that, ABC. Just remember that, ABC viewers. We would be in recession. Interest rates might be lower in a recession. So, you know, pluses and negatives. This is insane to me that somebody can seriously sit there and ignore a headline, use it as a source. Can you imagine how stupid you would have to be to do this? use as a source the fact that the government is doing such a good job at keeping the economy afloat that they are literally the only reason that it is afloat. They are literally the only reason we aren't in recession at the moment. Could change tomorrow because it is bad economic times. But it shows that they've kept us out 4 years when we should have been in recession because of public spending. And this guy's using it as a quote, as a source for his reasons for why the government is bad at managing the economy. For why you should be voting for minor parties with their brilliant economic track records. He's just pointing out in his own argument why he's an idiot. Unbelievable, isn't it? Despite this, there is literally no visible path forwards from this economic rut we're in with the current political status quo in terms of policy. What, the one where we're kept out of recession? Is that the one? This is an awful rut that we're in with record job growth during a cost of living crisis, with probably some of the most generous cost of living crisis relief packages that was targeted around the entire planet. Oh, this terrible economic rut that we're in. Oh my God. You know who would really do a very good job at all of this? A bunch of crossbench idiots that look at them. They're dullards. They're so stupid. This is what you're advocating for, is it? Like David Pocock, a former footy player. Hey, he's going to figure out the economy better than Dr. Jim Chalmers. Doctor. Here we go. Given this, surely we are at the perfect time to increase the diversity of views inside Parliament. Yes, if there's one thing Australia needs to get us out of this intellectual rut that he has just explained doesn't actually exist himself. But anyway, the way to get out of it is to get more people like Jackie Lambie, that genius, more people like David Pocock, a real thinking man, a man is. What about Clive Palmer's very own boy? Hey? Hey? Humpty Dumpty himself, the ex-real estate agent. Yeah, more of that. This is the diverse thoughts of the crossbench that we need more of. Idiots backed by billionaires that sit there all day talking about, we need to get lobbying out of government, and then go off and read lobbyist press releases as a job. More of that. In fact, we need them controlling the government as well. Not just them there, wasting taxpayer money with their dumb, ideas. The other one, oh yeah, Pauline Hanson, huge genius. Ralph Babbitt, oh, far out. They're all such legends. This is the diverse thoughts that we need. Different billionaires backing different durs. What a vision. I'm not advocating for a specific view. Wow, what a brave stance this guy's taken, eh? Look at him. Just this. You could not construct a more ready comment if you tried. The majors suck. Here's my evidence that completely contradicts the reason I think they suck. We need a minority government, but I'm too much of a pussy to say who in the minority government I'm supporting. Turkey. Sorry, I'll read some more comments now, and then we will move on to the next one afterwards, shall we? Let's just do this next one. Gary Seppo here, curious to think what AU thinks Trump has done so far in the echo chamber of Libs Dems. Don't hate his foreign policy, hate his domestics. I don't know. I really... Look, all I know is that he has gotten Elon Musk to just cut back the government to essentially just the military-industrial complex. I don't really follow American politics that hard. But I will say that I think that it is actually... Look, probably not great for the world that he just immediately got in, moved out of the Paris Accord. Probably is just going to wind back all of Biden's huge, massive investments into renewables. But hey, it's good for us. If we can keep our current government, that'd be awesome. trillions of dollars of private investment now up for grabs again. And Australia, with the Future Made in Australia program, and the fact that we are just Australia, we are just in a prime position to profit out of the renewable revolution. That's good news for us. Sorry, I can't really answer your question. Sorry, mate. Let me see. Anyone want to import me a 90s Holden Ute? Why? Do you want that shit? Thoughts on taxpayer-funded greyhound racing? Sure, why not? I mean, look, I can't be in this jacket and not support publicly funded grey. I didn't even know that was on the table. As an American with insomnia, thanks for making my sleepless nights more interesting. Why are all the Americans so polite? You're all very nice people, aren't you? Learning about Aussie politics has given me a lot of perspective on things here. Here's some money for smoke alarms and fire extinguishers. Well deserved. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that a lot. Fried Geordies crash out before GTA 6. Centrelink doors wonderful things for me. Okay. I guess that's a comment. I'm too scared to inquire as to why. Hey, next time you're in Perth, I personally will fly you to Rottnest to get your mandatory quokka selfie. I might take you up on that offer, Selwyn. I just might take you up on that offer. All right, let's just move on to that one last. All right, sorry, I'm going to put this up again. 1 second. Just, yes, there we go. It's there. Actually, we've got some more here. Finlay, $10. While I agree with the critiques on nuclear energy and the Libs plan is a scam, we need a stable backbone grid supply of 20% or greater, and the rest should be renewables. A grid cannot be 100% renewable. Finlay, it's happening in South Australia right now. 2 years from now, it's going to be 100% renewable. The thing is, that was true up until a few years ago. But obviously, because this technology is just leaps and bounds, exponentially getting better and better year on year. Cheaper, faster, far more reliable. It's no longer true, the whole baseload power thing. Baseload power is just battery storage now. And on top of that, you've also got hydrogen cells, which is moving towards leaps and bounds and will be like a hell of a lot more commercially viable than nuclear will be by the time it's already up and running anyway. Fix your audio, bros. What, is it bad? Is the audio bad? Let me know. Audio's fine, it's just your potato internet. Oh, okay. Well, anyway. Let me know. Am I still here? Hey, man, your mic is cutting in and out. Crap. Testing. I wonder how I can test this. Let me just check. 1 sec. Testing. Can I hear myself? No. Just get better internet, bro. I tried. Well, I'm facing the mic at the moment. Can you hear me? Audio loud and clear. Okay. All right. Shit. It's good now. It's fine. It's not fine. It is fine. Audio's fine. All right, good. Well, we will continue on. Where's this last one? Here we go. Critiques from Reddit. Let's read them out. What do you all think about Friendly Geordie's beef with other independent media? Specifically, Swollen Pickles and Juice Media. Who's right and who's wrong? By now, it's pretty clear that Swollen Pickles and Juice Media and Geordies all have beef with the Libs. In his most recent video, Friendly Geordie's had some real beef with Juice Media and does some real good work. His beef partially is that the Teals are funded by billionaires. It's a misguided judgment. Why? I would really like to see you worm your way out of this one. Our Climate 200 donors. Climate 200 is not one person. It's a big community of Aussies who believe that politicians should care about the climate and other social issues. Oh, okay. All right. So, what have we learned today then? The Cato Institute is fine. The IPA is fine. The Australia Institute is fine because they have more than just their big fish donors. Did you know that? Did you know that the IPA elicits donors from just the public as well as all of these oligarchs? So they're completely fine. They're grassroots according to that definition. The thing that is, obviously this guy hasn't said this, but you can tell just by this kind of line of thought, this is a type of person, right? So I'm not really critiquing this guy speaking at the moment, but endlessly, what do you get constantly? The majors are funded by fossil fuels and corporate interests. They never point out once that the Liberal Party, to the tune of, I think, $5 or $10 to $1 every election. That's usually how much they have to play with, as opposed to the Labor Party. They never point out that predominantly that money comes from, for the Labor Party, unions. Vast majority of the money comes from unions. The union is what? By definition, the working class. That's where the vast majority of it comes from. But when it comes to the Teals, I love how the I don't have a team always just sit there and then they'll just dismiss outright. No, it's fine that Simon Holmes of Court just funds us. It's fine that Malcolm Turnbull's son funds us. It's fine that the children of the Fairfax media empire fund us. Because we're an active grassroots group. And we have not just billionaires, but a bunch of multi-billionaires that donate to us as well. Because who are these grassroots people that are donating to the Teals? It's all going to be doctors' wives. You can guarantee it. Anybody, the reason that they're sitting there and they were able to fund these huge campaigns of what? 1.7, 1.8, $2 million campaigns in small donations. Why are they small donations? It's because they're the richest suburbs in the country. This is better than the union movement, apparently. This is better than all of these workers coming together and just putting in their little pennies to try and get the Labor Party elected. No, what's way better than that is this grassroots movement of the worst people in the country, people that live in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, people that live in the northern beaches of Sydney, putting together their hard-earned excess income from their investment properties to get a Lib Light elected. This is your big argument against it. The other thing as well is, like, look, even when it comes to that, at its core, the Labor Party is run by unions. At its core, it is controlled by unions. This is the only reason it is any different to any of the other scum in Parliament that everybody just wants to defend purely because they're a new face. That's it. They only want to defend them because they're a new face. There is no real difference between Teals and Liberals. The only difference is like social issues and climate change. That's it. They are wets. They are Malcolm Turnbull Liberals. They don't care about your wages. They really don't care about your wages. In fact, the only reason that they do care about them is that they can destroy them. That's it. Yeah? These are the people that you're giving these like concessions to. To be fair, they're not completely funded by Simon Holmes of Court. They're not completely funded by the children of the Fairfax media empire. They're funded by people that are also extremely wealthy, but not as wealthy as that. This is the defense. When it comes to Climate 200, it is controlled by Simon Holmes of Court. A billionaire. That's the fund daddy. That's the guy that controls that shit. Meanwhile, you've got a bunch of unions coming together to make one of the only governments on earth that is Workers' Party controlled, that is a true Workers' Party. This sucks apparently now. Because Climate 200 is funded by very rich people. What? Hang on. Am I online still? Am I cutting in and out? Hang on. Am I talking or not? No, I'm online. I'm online. Yeah, you're fine. Okay, yep. Sorry. I was just, people keep saying it. I think they're trolling me. All right, anyway. Geordie's had some beef with Swollen Pickles re the housing affordability thing. In my opinion, Swollen Pickles had some legit counterpoints to... Oh my God. Holy hell. Okay, so... this thing that he never responded to. Let me just go to it.
Back in late October.
There we go. How long is this? 6 hours and 30 minutes. 6 hours and 30 minutes that Swollen Pickles never responded to because of what an egregious liar and bad actor he is. No one in the new media commentary space is worse than Swollen Pickles. That man is a true, to his core liar that as soon as he is proven wrong, will just back out of it and not admit that he was wrong on the point. He won't admit it ever. He will just keep defending himself into more absurd circles. That's how bad he lies. You need 6 hours and 30 minutes to dissect just how dishonest that guy is. He's truly awful. Like the fact that this guy sits there and thinks, oh, he's got some legitimate points about the housing affordability thing. What legitimate point? What point wasn't addressed in that? He didn't address a single point in response. He can't address a single point in response. The only way that he can ever do it is by clipping little teeny pieces of what I said, completely misrepresenting the way that that was said, and then on top of that, ignoring huge arguments, massive arguments, just ignores them. As soon as he doesn't have an answer to them, doesn't answer. This is the guy behind you that didn't even know what the HAF was. Wrote 6 videos or some shit, just being like, why the HAF sucks, the HAF's so shit. Didn't know how it worked. Do you understand why there's a little problem in that? Do you understand that you probably shouldn't be writing 6 videos confidently, edited, scripted, really premeditated? Didn't understand how it worked. It sucks. I don't understand what it is. This guy has the legitimate points. This is the same guy that used all of these housing bodies and deliberately, this is what he does all the time. I really like the nickname for him, Cherry Pickles, because that's exactly what he does. Every single time, that asshole just gets a line that somebody said as like a, you know, like a critique. This is something that they all do. The Greens do it. All of new media does it. There's always going to be, experts are going to critique literally everything ever. They're always going to say it's not good enough for X and X reasons, but they will always leave out that the expert at the end that they are quoting say, this should be passed. You know? Of course, every expert ever is going to sit there and be like, oh, it sucks, you know? But like, at the end of the day, they're just going to say that it should be passed or it shouldn't be passed. That's the bottom line. Because nothing that a human being ever does is ever going to be perfect. Do you understand? So anyway, that's the whole thing, right? Like, he's so bad. Such a bad, dishonest liar. And if that guy seriously thinks that, if he seriously thinks that Swollen Pickles has anything of value to say, the only reason he could possibly think that is because it's just reinforcing his worldview. That's it. That man is not an honest actor. I have leeway for people, obviously, that have different slants on the facts, right? That have different views on things. That's fine. You should be arguing those things within that parameter. But when you get to the point of Swollen Pickles where you are just outwardly lying for hours, and then you have to sit there and finicking go past every little part of bullshit that he does, and then you get this response. Oh, actually, I think he won. Why? Because he made me feel good. That guy is like, honestly, anyone that is a fan of Swollen Pickles, chuck them in the bin. They're so beyond any like actual discussion. You cannot look at Swollen Pickles and seriously think, yup, there's a guy that's being honest. He's just so far beyond that. He really is. Just a straight liar. What do you make of these disagreements? What do you make of these disagreements? Who's right and who's wrong? Friendly Geordies, I feel, has a blind spot regarding Labor policies. Right. Okay, cool. So this is a guy that just regurgitates the exact talking points of Swollen Pickles. That's all he's got. His whole brain is just whatever Swollen Pickles says. It got a blind spot. I suppose that's also something that every idiot says that tries to sound smart. This is incredible, by the way. This guy doesn't have any blind spots. No, just me. This is the incredible thing about everybody, apparently, that you'll learn online, especially on Reddit. They're the only person on planet Earth that isn't biased. Everyone else is biased that they don't agree with, coincidentally. But if they do agree with them, they're not biased, right? So Swollen Pickles, such a bad actor, a truly Truly egregious, appalling, and ignorant. Very dumb commentator. That guy doesn't have any blind spots whatsoever. The guy that did not understand the thing that he was critiquing fundamentally. No blind spots. But me, on the other hand, I've got some blind spots. Even though I outwardly admit all the time, here is my bias. This is something that I want to get onto record as much as I possibly can. If someone says to you that they're not biased, if someone cannot admit to you what their bias is, if they can't say to you, this is how I see the world, don't listen to them. They are a liar. Or at the very least, they are too stupid and ignorant to be taken seriously. This is exactly what these people are. Like somebody that sits there and actively says, you're biased. I'm not biased though. The guy that thinks swollen pickles is a good source. I'm not biased. Anyway, sorry. How do you avoid a policy argument imploding due to person lacking the information necessary to argue their point, or them simply denying any policy to demonstrate the hypocrisy of their position? 1 second. Let me read that question one more time. How do you avoid policy argument imploding due to the person lacking the information necessary to argue their point, or them simply denying any policy to demonstrate the hypocrisy of their position? Well, you can't. You can't. This is the whole thing. Look, guys, there really is. I'm basically just doing this for entertainment purposes because people just like watching people argue on the internet. But in your day-to-day, don't listen to these people. Just whatever they say. If they're just sitting there and being like, "Layman, you lost their way," you sit there, "Yeah, okay, granddad, that's great." They're not going to change, ever. They are never, ever, ever going to change. I think Geordie shouted out Mr. Mitchell's history. I love Mr. Mitchell's history. Mr. Mitchell's history is great. I am working on a collab video with him, but it's obviously postponed. But I will be working on it soon. Yes, anyway. Let's do this $30 one. I am doing the Young Lib debate in Sydney. I want to talk about the Future Made in Australia policy and the Watergate scandal, and Labor stops Sydney Water from being privatised. Any tips to argue the points or info on it? Blake, no. You sound like you know what you're doing, though, honestly. I think, really, the only way to get better at arguing, and I'm not a very good arguer, by the way. I'm not a good debater. But I think the only way to do it is to just keep doing it, honestly. It's just, that's the way that things go. You know what I'm saying? Let me just see. I just want to hear arguing. And I'm not a very good arguer, by the way. I'm not a good debater. That's all right. I don't know what everyone's complaining about. Yeah, okay, cool. He is blind to this that he does not recognize it. He has a Labour bias. Jesus Christ. How many times do I have to publicly say, yes, I do? My point is, if you are not able to admit what your bias is, you should not be in a discussion with this person in the first place. If they truly think that they aren't, if they truly are so unaware, so dumb, so unhumble that they seriously think that they see the world objectively, you can't comprehend, you can't talk to that. That's just pure narcissism. That is a narcissist. And I've said this thousands of times. Yes, I have a Labour bias. Proudly. I proudly have it. And this idiot here sitting, he doesn't say that. He just say good thing about Labour, and I only want to consume idiots that sit there and whinge about Labour all the time. Isn't that interesting? It's so interesting to me that having a bias always just means saying good things. Isn't that incredible? So if you just sit there and endlessly negatively shit on someone, you're not biased. I'm sorry, but the world isn't as bad as that. It's nowhere near as bad as that. People in government do good things constantly. I can rattle them off now. Like the fact that the Labor Party stopped Medicare from being privatised. Massive. Introduced universal childcare. That's as big as Medicare. It's one of those top 3 pillars of the social network service that Labor has set up over the last fucking half a century or whatever it is. The fact that they gave us some of the best cost of living measures economically out of the entire planet and some of the best cost of living relief. The fact that they went after the supermarket giants and stopped them from getting price gouged. The fact that the Labor Party also is like on target to getting some of the best renewable targets in the world in terms of where they were and where they want to go. These are some of the most ambitious targets on Earth. These are also some of the most ambitious reduction in carbon emissions on Earth. They are on track to achieve both. They are on track to achieve both. We've been talking about Future Made in Australia. That is massive. These are all huge policies. Huge, massive policies that are pushing the country in a good direction. This idiot doesn't mention any of them. And mentioning those things apparently makes you biased and gives you a blind spot. The whole thing is that if you say that somebody is so stupid, if you say that someone has done something good, you're biased. This is why this idiot likes Swollen Pickles, because the whole thing is it's exactly what I'm talking about with whinge merchants. Swollen Pickles is a straight up whinge merchant. That guy only gets clicks off of the most disaffected neats in the country. You can read the comments. They're very stupid people, very stupid mentally ill people that just need to be constantly reinforced in their head that the government sucks, that the government never does anything right. And he will bend over backwards coming up with elaborate lies to prove that. Prove that. Friendly Geordies has said nothing about bad treatment of whistleblowers from Labor. You idiot. You absolute dope. I have not talked about anything more. There is nothing that I've made more videos on than David McBride. Nothing. What an idiot. What an absolute dope. You could not be more incorrect if you tried. This is your big point on like, oh, they never say anything negative about Labor. No, I do say negative things about Labor. I just don't relish in talking about one of the greatest governments objectively on Earth. This is not my opinion. This is the IMF's. This is the IMF's. Second best managed budget in the world. I like talking about the fact that we are one of the few nations on Earth that is guided by a government that actually does things in the public's interest. You can go live in America if you like. If you just want to sit there and live in this whole like shitty nightmare universe scape of like, oh, everyone sucks and is out to get me. There is a handful of nations on Earth where things can actually happen. Europe is a complete shit show. Europe is just a bunch of crap parliaments where they just have these dumb little rainbow flags of nothing. No one has a majority ever, can never get anything done. So all that ever happens is just superficial little changes here and there before the government collapses in on itself. That's Europe, essentially. Africa, good luck there. Really, what is there? There's like Brazil. Brazil things happen sometimes. South Korea, it really matters which government's in. Australia is one of the few countries on Earth that it matters if the Labor Party gets in. It truly, profoundly changes the direction of this country. And I like focusing on that. I don't like inventing conspiracy theories to feed idiots like this guy, Cricket Mad. Let's see how many, Jesus Christ, how many, what the hell is that? Like 71,000 karma points. There you go. There you go. Like, and then just sitting there and lying about like the negative things that he never talks about, which is whistleblowers, which I have talked about. And you sitting there pretending that you don't have this blind spot. How do you not have a blind spot if you're just sitting there and being like, Labor's awful treatment of whistleblowers? Oh, you mean the party that implemented the most significant whistleblower protections in this nation's history? Are you talking about that one? That's the party that's just been so bad to all the whistleblowers. These are protections, because this is what dumbass these kind of people are. You get your few totemic whistleblowers like your McBrides that really do something extraordinary, right? Something that most people wouldn't ever do, which is just try and rat out the US government. Yeah, that guy's going to cause some powerful enemies. But did you know that there is a bunch of other whistleblowers in the government that do things like maybe, reducing robo-debt, for instance? They could have reported on robo-debt with those whistleblower protections, and their job would have been secure, and maybe 2,000 people wouldn't have died. These are the whistleblower protections that Labor has put forward. They didn't exist before. This is this terrible, abysmal track record on the Labor Party. It's so dumb as well, because it's like, dude, I have done nothing more. There is not a single subject. I have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for David McBride. But that's because I actually do things in the real world, as opposed to people like this that pretend that they're morally superior online as they hide behind their Reddit profiles. Their Reddit profiles. They even refuse to show their face online. They're such cowards. And they sit there with their bloody 71,000 karma points being like, I'm actually better than this guy that raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for McBride that he never did anything for. Moron. The favorable treatment of gas and billionaires from Labor too. This is the same guy. This is the same guy who up there dismisses Simon Holmes Accord controlling Climate 200 and by extension, all of the Teals. Sits there and says that that's not a founded argument. Why isn't it a founded argument? Because that doesn't fit in my head. That doesn't fit in my head. So I'm just going to find a way to dismiss it. I'll note this as well. This guy did not note in his comment the fact that that video very specifically went through the Teals' abysmal voting record when it comes to superannuation and wage protections. Terrible, terrible voting record. Doesn't mention it, completely blacks it out. He doesn't have a blind spot, by the way. Just blanks something out entirely that doesn't fit his narrative. And then sits there and says like, oh, he never talks about the control of billionaires on the Labor Party. I have. And on top of this asshole just completely blindsides the fact that his boys, or girls I should say, his girls are controlled by Simon Holmes Accord. Are controlled by it. Climate 200 is controlled by it. You can sit there and say like, oh, it's only 2% of donations. Who's the guy that set it up? Who's the guy that put in all the seed funding? What do you think all the seed funding of the big billionaires goes to? It goes to just raising more money from a bunch of other millionaires. That's all that happens. That's the guy that set up the infrastructure. You don't care about that. That's a null void point because it's not shitting on one of the majors. And it said nothing about the gambling stuff, which was bad from Labor too. You do realize I was nearly arrested with extra legal laws that they were trying to come up with in court to get me arrested because of my talk of Clubs New South Wales. I don't talk about gambling. You nitwit. You absolute dullard. Holy hell, you're stupid. And bad. Can I just say this as well? You're a bad person. Like, I actually risked my life taking on the gambling lobby, ostensibly. Look, I'm not going to make any judgments here on that. But I can say this, I definitely risked my freedom. I also came up with all of these. They were trying to come up with new precedents to get me arrested. This is the gambling lobby. And because of what I said about them, because who I decided to support. And then this dickhead sits there and says, I've said nothing about gambling. Have you no shame at all? You really are a terrible person, aren't you? Like a fundamentally bad person. Like, I'd really like to ask this Redditor with his 70,000 karma points, what have you ever done except for bitch on Reddit incorrectly and lie about people's character? What have you done with your life? Have you done anything of that significance? Shut the fuck up. Anyway, so we'll go through and read some more comments, and then we will go to the mining video, wherever it is. Where did that go? Well, okay, I'll read the comments and then we'll be right back. I just need to call Thingy-mabob. Let me just see if this stream is still running. Online. All right, let me just see this. My daughter in high school showed me that there is this 8 Peter Dutton going around calling him Peggy Sue. Oh, yeah. Yes, the Peggy Sue thing. Very good. Big fan. Big fan. All right, let's move on to the next one, though. Still waiting for my fiber internet to my home. Thanks, Liberal Party, for stuffing that up. Well, yes, it's a tragedy, isn't it? It is a tragedy, though. It really is a tragedy. It sucks. I think the future made in Australia will solve the housing crisis. Investing in housing is the only way wealthy Australians will know how to invest. A diverse economy will lower new investment into housing. That's very true. I would rather Sark Albo till completion than Peter Dutton. Also, the Greens are dogs. All right. Well, that was very informative. Look, I have to ring up Mystery Man and find out how to get this Gina Reinhardt stuff on. So, BRB. And thank you so much. We will come back and watch all of that. But yeah, guys, always, thank you so much for the fun stream. Appreciate it. welcome back. Let me just double check that everybody's here. We're clear. Let's just see if the numbers... All right, hang on. Are we back? Just need to know if I'm back. Damn, you know what? Somebody had a really good response, actually. That's a really good response. I like that response a lot. Yeah, somebody said, oh my God. Okay, yeah, Banned Bane had a very, very good video suggestion. If anybody else has good video suggestions, I'll do it. But like, dude, it would be really good to go after those. Australia is now a shithole. Those videos, they're going massively viral. In fact, actually, just purely just because of you, Bane, I am going to have to go back to BRB. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to just get this straight into the pipeline. It's a genius idea. I do apologize. I do apologize. Let me just double check and see that everything's working again. I'm really sorry about this. But look, we're going to have to go back and look at this for a second. Anyway, let me look at these. $100 from Devi. Thank you. You're a bloody legend, Geordie. A real ray of hope when it feels like everyone else is going to... You're a bloody legend. Geordie, a real ray of hope when it feels like everyone else is going to vote Liberal and ruin the work Labor's done. The argument in Queensland when voting was literally Labor's just been in for too long. Oh, amen, brother. Amen. God, that is depressing, wasn't it? Labor's been in too long. That's why they lost the election. Hey, also, while we're here, I've just been informed, hot off the press, that there is some brand new ground-shaking news, and we will get onto that in a second. But in the meantime, I would very much like to ask you, the viewer, a question, if I may. A question And let's see if you have an answer to this question. Are any of you from Canada? What is going on there? How are the Liberals? Are they going to win now? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Somebody in the comments, just let me know, because I'm very, very curious about that. Before we go on to anything else, I'd just very much like to hear anybody's thoughts. Do you know anything about why Canada all of a sudden looks like the Liberals could get re-elected? I really hope they do. I really hope. It's just, look, guys, we need all the pro-climate governments we can get for the next 4 years. We really do. Having said that, though, again, if they do go Conservative and Australia stays in Labor, that's going to be very good for investment. All right, hang on. Let's see this. Hey, bruh, would you rather have Bob Katter or Pauline Hanson government? Bob Katter, obviously. But really, at that point, you're really just looking for meme value. The thing is, honestly, I will say this. Bob Katter has proven over the years that he is happy to be one of those, I'm going to be a rubber stamp just to make sure that there is consistency in government. He is proven to do one of those things. Pauline Hanson absolutely wouldn't be doing that. She'd be wrangling all sorts of stupid deals for herself. Hey, Jordan, just wanted to pass on my appreciation for the content that you've done on Jordan Shanks. It's helped me get out of my upbringing and join the ADF. Good boy, good boy. Honestly, I do think this. Don't you reckon you could really go a lot worse in life than if you're lost? Join the military. Gives you discipline. This is something that I hear over and over again from people who did join the military. I hear this so much. You ready? The fact that I joined the military means that I have been very successful in business. And why is that? Because they get up at 5 a.m. basically, while the rest of us sit there. I don't want to do my taxes. I'm snugly in bed. They're sitting there eating a granola bar. Carry the one, private. So yeah, I think that you did it right. Instill better habits and adopt an attitude that constantly improve myself and the best person that I can be. I'm telling you over and over again, look, you can do a hell of a lot worse than douse yourself in self-help. You really can. I don't want to hear anyone that thinks that self-help is bad, honestly doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. They are ignorant people, truly ignorant. Ignorant and just have that classic human bias in their head of, this is something I don't know about. It sucks. That's it. That's all that's happening. If anybody out there starts reading self-help books, tell me in a year's time that you haven't markedly improved your life. Tell me you haven't. Look, anybody out there that's having a bad lot in life, there are answers. There has been a lot of wisdom written in self-help books over the years. You wouldn't know who I am if it wasn't for self-help. So that guy's absolutely on point, and he's on point about the 300. Now, somebody just gave me $300 Australian. What the hell? The seat of $300, dudes. Too right, Floydy. The seat of Roe in WA, Labour members are receiving personal threats over these issues. Marine park changes and bang bang laws and live export. Regional WA is very angry at them. Thoughts on this? A related note, please do a regional WA tour to educate the rednecks that live there. Connor, thank you so much for the $300. But look, I can't do a regional tour in WA. It just wouldn't be worth the money. I want to go to regional WA just to see, wow, it really is all desert. What the hell's out there? Is there even people in regional WA? Look at the seats. Look at it. I swear some of those seats are smaller than China. I mean, bigger than China. That's what, bigger. They're so big. All right, let me just read on to some more things. Yeah, so does anyone know anything about Canada? That's what I want to know now. That's what I'm very interested in. Labour must be stopped with Dave Andrews. Yes, that's very true. Let me just Canada. Canada isn't a real place. Damn it. Canadian Liberals are which party in Canada? Big Coal or Big France? Big France. I thought Canada was a new state of America. True that. Oh, yeah, actually, I'm just going to see who the new Canadian Prime Minister is while I'm just looking at that. Sorry. I will just quickly... Actually, we'll all read that one together, shall we? Let's look at that. And then we'll get back to this story here. And then we will go into the Gina Reinhardt stuff. But let me just check. Well, my internet's crap. Maybe it's still just not working. Otherwise, here. Oh, no, here we go. Yep, there we go. Okay. Former banker Mark Carney wins race to becomes Canada's next PM. He's so much uglier than Trudeau. Why would you get rid of the world's most handsome leader? I still don't get it. I mean, really, at the end of the day, does anyone seriously think that a change in leadership does that much? Well, actually, I suppose Stephen Miles did. So I proved myself wrong. Maybe there will be different leadership styles. Let's see. Maybe I should read anything other than the headline before passing judgment. Former central banker Mark Carney has won the race to become leader of Canada's ruling Liberal Party and will succeed Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister, official results have showed. Mr. Carney will take over at a tumultuous time in Canada, which is in the midst of a trade war with longtime ally of the United States and hold a general election soon. The 59-year-old took over 86% of the votes cast. Big former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. Oh, yeah. Okay. In which just under 152,000 party members voted. Fuck me. Every time you need a change in leadership there, you need to have every party member vote. Far out. After more than 9 years in power, Mr. Trudeau announced in January that he would be stepping down. Yeah, okay. Mr. Carney is a political novice. And argued that he was best placed to revive the party and oversee the trade negotiations with US President Donald Trump, who was threatening additional tariffs and cripple Canada's export economy. Donald Trump, as we all know, is unjustified tariffs which are attacking Canadian families. His appointment won bipartisan praise in the UK after Canada recovered from the 2008 financial crisis. Canada will never be part of America. Is it just me, or does anyone ever feel sorry when any other leader loses, ever? I always just feel sorry for him. God, it must be heart-wrenching. It must really suck. Like, 1 minute, you're Prime Minister of Canada. The next minute, you're just a handsome schmuck with a divorced kid. Very sad. Very sad times, I think. I don't really know. There you go. Look, I was looking into the carbon price in Canada recently. And it's really unpopular. And the thing is, I didn't look into it enough to know if there's actually merit to it. Because I can imagine that a carbon tax, maybe, if you aren't instilling it correctly, might not be doing what it was supposed to be doing. That could be something. Or it could be just completely scare campaign media beat up about the fact that, like, ooh, it's costing you more at the Bowser or whatever. And, you know, cost of living. Everyone's getting smashed because of cost of living. God, isn't it incredible that you can win an election in this day and age? That something that can outstrip the worst economic conditions that we've had in decades. Something that can outstrip that is just how much people hate Trump. Isn't that incredible? God, he's really a phenomenon, isn't he? He is truly, literally... Sorry, my thing just broke down. I just got to double check and see if it works again. Truly a force of nature. All right, anyway, this just came out recently. Let's have a read together, shall we? Once I regain my composure. Done con by fake terrorism caravan plot and played into hands of crime figures, Burke says. Home Affairs Minister opposition says... Sorry. We will battle on. Home Affairs Minister says opposition leaders' recklessness has caught up with him. Well, a few people have been texting me about this. Maybe this is big. And maybe I should... Look, I'm not crying. It's just... I swallowed some nuts the wrong way. So I suppose I am crying. All right, let's continue on. No, don't worry about me. Tony Burke has claimed the opposition leader Peter Dutton was conned by a Sydney caravan plot that police have declared fake and should apologise to the public. Why's this such a big deal? The Australian Federal Police revealed on Monday the explosive-laden caravan found earlier this year in the outer suburb of Dural was a fake terrorism plot. The AFP Deputy Commissioner Chrissy Barrett said investigators now believe the caravan incident was concocted by criminals who wanted to cause fear for personal benefit. After the revelation, Burke took to X to criticise Dutton, saying he played directly into the hands of organised crime figures before going further in comments in the media on Monday evening. The other person, though, who was conned in all of this and who's reckless, has caught up with him today. It's Peter Dutton, he said. His recklessness has caused him to make claims about national security, which are now demonstrably untrue. Time and time again, Mr. Dutton, without seeking a briefing, simply asserted a large-scale planned terrorist attack. Really? Okay. Well, that is explosive. In the most ironic sense in that it is literally not explosive, but he's pretending that it is. I did not know. There you go. That is actually quite stupid. And bad. Really bad. What, so he's just sitting around there, and, oh, I heard there was a terrorism attack. Yeah, let me just sit by my Six Flags. This jacket's probably a little too much for the occasion, though. But we are on red alert for this non-existent terrorist attack. Barrett said the twisted, self-serving criminality of the fabricated terrorism plot had terrorised Jewish Australians. What organised crime allegedly has done to the Jewish community is reprehensible and won't go without consequences. The police told the Media Strike Force Pearl officers arrested 14 people and conducted 11 search warrants on Monday as part of their investigations into anti-Semitic attacks across Sydney. Police said none of those arrested were directly linked to the caravan plot. Earlier, Cabinet Minister Murray Watt said the government welcomed the findings. I think that the police have found that there wasn't a risk to public safety. I don't think that we can underestimate the psychological harm that it created for the Jewish community. The Shadow Home Affairs Minister James Pattinson also wrote on X that organised crime concocting terrorism plots targeting the Jewish community is an extremely serious matter. National security ministers and the PM have been promptly briefed, and as was the New South Wales Premier. The government must now explain whether they were, and if not, why not. The coalition has consistently tried to push the Prime Minister to reveal when he was briefed on the caravan plot. The AFP Commissioner Reece Kershaw, asked by the opposition about the timing of the briefing, said during reference. At some time he said that it was inappropriate comment to investigate that it was ongoing. Yeah, I guess that's kind of big. It's kind of big. It's kind of big. But anyway, let's move on to something. Hey, if you had to choose between one of two places... Sorry, somebody just gave me $50. I've got to answer. Come on. It's only fair. The city that is known for melting bodies and being the serial killers of the capital of Australia, Adelaide, or the land of City but Brain, otherwise known as Wollongong. Where would you choose to live? I like me some Adelaide. I think Adelaide's a cool place to live. Adelaide is like Melbourne if it had no pretense whatsoever. And, you know, loserly. But everybody there knows that they're losers and they suck, and that's kind of nice. It is. It's just people, you know, good for them. Now, let's watch the big boy together, shall we? We have gotten another leaked video from Reinhardt and Hancock Prospecting. Apparently, it's nowhere near as juicy as the first one, but very cringy. So let's all cringe along together. Oh, by the way, tell me if you can't hear this. Oh, listen to that country twang. I wonder how these guys voted in the WA election. Someone just wrote, yay, cringe. And you can hear it. I can't hear it. Audio out of sync. Stop whining. Is it tad loud? All right, I'll turn it down a bit. How's that for you? Oh, yeah. Well, it does look sickly catered. Come on. I suppose that's what you should expect if you are the richest woman in Australia by a mile. Well, the grub's good.
Tonight's a fantastic night, and the one thing that's
Oh, yes! The bad South African MC is back with a vengeance. Oh, I've missed you, buddy. I've really missed the way that you really suck at introducing things.
stands out for me is when I talk to our people, when I actually go to site or work around in the Perth office, if it's at Atlas or at Royal, the one thing that stands out is when people come to me and they really said how grateful they are for everything the company does for them, and that we're a company that's really caring. And the thing that stands out for me is it's not something that as just a few of us are doing. It started right from the top. It started with Mrs. Reinhardt. Mrs. Reinhardt's absolute passion for the company, a passion for the people, a passion for doing the things that makes a difference. She's the one.
Man, could you imagine if you had to suck up to Gina Reinhardt for your existence? I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of people in the comments right now that do have to do that, but imagine being this guy. His job must be 90% professional yes man. What else do you think he does to sit there all day and go, that's a great idea, Gina, right you are? What else do you think he does? Don't you think that most mining operations operate themselves at this point?
One that drove the roster change. For those of you, and most of you were here with the original sort of strange 2-in-1 type roster, she's the one that changed it. She's the one that said, I can't work those rosters. My people shouldn't work that either. She's the one that pushed for the better food. She's the one that pushed for, we need to get private medical health for all of our employees. All of those things starts at the top. And we're so grateful to work for a company where the owner of the company and the partners that joined with her, Bosco, Marubeni, and China Steel, all support that vision. We want to be a company that cares for our people.
Whoa. Wait. Sorry. I was supposed to be putting it on this. Yeah. Shut up.
There's also so many other things she does. So many things that make a real difference.
Yes, go on.
The raffle
What
like
other?
what we're going to have tonight. Whichever company does what we're going to do tonight, pull a bunch of people's names out of the hat, and next week they've got $100,000 in their bank account.
Oh, what the hell? No, that is bullshit. I was going to sit there and be like, and who else has a company raffle where you get a free meat tray at the end? If you win. If you come second, you don't get shit. $100,000, better than Oprah.
It makes a real difference. And one of the best things ever is when you, afterwards, if you take that phone and you phone people and you inform them they've actually won.
Oh, so you just noticed the hair, did you? Well, just in case anybody else is a late straggler to the party, please observe the top of that guy's head. Surely he should pull a Peter Dutton. Buddy, the dream's over. You can't do anything about that. Look at that. He looks kind of like the Starlight, can you hear me up there? Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Don't you reckon? That right there. Look, it's a spitting image. Sorry, we should continue on though. let's move on to who is, I don't know who these people are. Let's see what they have to say.
Celebrating their hard work and immense contribution to our economy.
Joining Roy Hill 9 years ago has been one of my best decisions. Working in the heart of the WA mining industry for a company known for its care, leadership, innovation and performance makes me incredibly proud.
Proud to work for Hancock as a company that has a really strong history and legacy of doing things differently.
Shut up.
Right. So, here we go. Hello, everybody, and thank you for those wonderful messages and stories from across our businesses. It's especially wonderful to know our staff say they've never worked for a better company than ours. Reaching a decade or more with one company is a remarkable stretch. You might be interested to know, research shows, on average, Australian workers spend just 3 years and 4 months with one company or employer, which makes your decade or more a very special achievement and shows...
Hang on. Are they going to whinge? I want them to whinge about taxes again. Bring out the classic hits.
much valued loyalty. And for years, this was before any chairman's profit share, loyalty bonuses, the world's major banks, and 5 ECAs to provide the essential $7 billion of debt funding, without which there'd be no Roy Hill mega project. And I can confirm that still is a world record. First ore railed. How good was it to be this ore reached Port Hedland on National Mining Day, 22nd of November, 2015. Full private company in Australia ever, and other successes would not be possible without all of you.
Boo.
Well, that's a silver version of Peanuts immortalised, hanging above your teppanyaki area with a plaque displaying an important quote from a rather well-known, brilliant Elon Musk. Quote,
Oh, here we go. There we go, yes.
"The larger government gets, the less individual freedoms you have. Your freedoms have just been eroded year after year with more and more government, laws and regulations and regulatory authorities." End quote.
Dude, is this another South African accent that I detect? Is that... Why are there so many South Africans that are just unspeakably evil? It's just... You got Elon Musk, you got Peter Thiel, you've got the former host of The Daily Show, whatever he was, and then you got these guys. You got these guys here, standing around there. Look, oh my God. I can't believe how culty it is. They've created an Elon Musk plaque. Oh, a quote of his. Just another one of his autistic Spurg rambles. They've just immortalized it forever. Yes, we've put it in titanium. This needs to read the H's. This one right here.
Now is not the time for rhinos or linos.
Oh, yes, here we go.
Peanut was a harmless orphan squirrel, greatly loved by a New York couple who took him in and looked after him for 7 happy years, only to be devastated by 4 government agencies invading their home for 5 hours, ramshacking it to find their well-loved, clearly healthy squirrel and take it away. Those of you who think...
And that's why the government's evil. Government overreach. About this poor, hapless squirrel. Do you care? Look at the money that they have for something that I am sure that there is another side of the story to this. I'm absolutely sure about that. But let's just have a look at them commemorating the poor squirrel. Look at him up there, forever, immortalized at the top. No, no, my delicious pet, no. What? Oh, actually, okay, they've peaked me again. They've peaked me. I thought that this was just going to be a no-show, but no, I think the on-call's just as strong.
Government acts in your best interest, well, please think again. That innocent squirrel head was guillotined, and the couple permanently lost a loved member.
I probably should have waited till the next part of the story. That is truly tragic. I'm very sad about that squirrel now. He does deserve all of this commemoration to him. Right there, forever immortalised.
Of their family. 2, actually. Fred, their raccoon, was guillotined too. Now showing
well,
on
that
the
is a very
screen are
effective
some
story.
of our
Fair enough.
websites that you may not be viewing, which have more information, including several of the CPAC speaker videos. One such CPAC speech by President Millet I will be referring to soon. Some of you may remember I published a book on our bureaucracy experience, launched by Prime Minister Modi. With his permission, borrowing the phrase he made famous for my title, From Red Tape to Red Carpet. Sadly, since book and even the annual National Mining Days I founded, things haven't got better. In fact, they've gotten worse, far worse. This is something we all need to be aware of, as it doesn't just affect companies, but affects all of your and your family's futures so badly that, as the MCA has reported, 80% of projects in the reported pipeline are now the casualty list. The importance of this 80% can be better understood when you add up the revenues of all non-mining businesses. Their total together is less than our essential mining industry. Villains of our living standards, we've had a record 7 consecutive quarters of falling living standards, falling investment, record business failures, including anti-mining policies like nature positive, mining negative, Australia negative. Alarmingly, not yet dead.
See, there we go. Right there. Okay, sorry. I need to start writing up a mining company whining. Okay, so here's another thing that they clearly hate about the Labor Party, the nature positive plan. They hate the nature positive plan. Let's just quickly read up on that. Because it has been a while that it was instilled, but this is, I think, world-leading environmental reform. Just try and, if I can get this goddamn internet to work. And let me just find something that is like sort of just an excerpt. We're not going to read the entire policy together. But this is interesting. This is really interesting. They don't want this. And why? Let's find out. Let's find anything that is sort of... All right, here we go. Accept all. It's been almost 2 years since the Australian government signed up for the ambitious targets of the latest International Biodiversity Agreement. Now, that's something else that's really big about the Labor Party that I keep forgetting to spruik. But that is huge, isn't it? The fact that they had a 0 target of special extinctions, a net 0 target of that. And the original idea was to get all of this framework and set in place that was obviously held up by the crossbench. But it was to put up all of this framework that was going to trigger all of these laws that go into place as soon as a species starts getting its numbers under. And they're talking now, the mining industry is talking about the fact that this nature positive plan, which just means that the environment has to come out better when you are doing these development structures. The mining industry hates that. This is another reason why they're trying to get rid of the Labor government. This is their stated reason for why they want them gone, the nature positive plan. Let's continue reading on about it. As we write this, the federal government is preparing to host for the first Global Nature Positive Summit in October. This is an important time to reflect on the progress in addressing alarming rates of biodiversity loss. Yes, okay, so why does it matter? Yeah, can you just get to the point? Nature positive requirements requires numerous changes across many audiences and sectors of the broader scale. Just tell us what it does. Law and policy drivers for nature positive. Australia's nature positive plan sets out ambitious reforms to legal and policy settings to support nature positive outcomes, but implementation has been slow and difficult, obviously. Of course it would have been. Any environmental policy is always just going to be like pulling teeth. It always takes forever for it to go through. While we now have the foundations of the new national repair market intended to attract private investment to environmental restoration, the details are still being developed. It's unclear whether there'll be sufficient market demand to drive private investment in nature repair, or indeed whether there's sufficient capacity or interest across the land sector. Alongside new markets, reform for our national environmental laws are crucial to stem cumulative adverse impacts on the ecosystem that are long overdue. Yeah, that's right. That's what this is. Yeah, so anyway, the other thing that's great about the Nature Positive Plan, I completely forgot about this. The Nature Positive Plan, the reason that it is world leading is because it is trying to set up a market for nature restoration. As in, there is going to be a private industry set up around restoring the nature of this country. Huge move. That is private investment that will be put into this. Now, again, because it is world-leading stuff, we don't really know how this is going to work. There is no frame for this. This is new frontier territory stuff. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Anyway, obviously, the mining lobby hates it because the whole thing is there's always just going to be that test factor there of the environment can't be worse off because of your actions. And so they have to factor that into their projects. And they obviously hate that. This is what they're complaining about.
Federal Labor is returned, especially if ALP Teal is our next government. Paris Accord related onerous and complicated government tape and regulations, adding huge expense and adding more bureaucracy, and all of this paid for by you. Did you know the size of the Canberra bureaucracy is forecast to grow from 173,558 to 209,150 this year, which is what you're all paying for. Just the increase.
The thing that's terrible about that argument is that, first off, it's not a huge public service. Australia has like quite an efficient public service in comparison to a lot of the rest of the developed world. But another thing is that you cut jobs out of the public service. They don't just not get done. They just get moved to consultancy firms. I was just reading a report recently that was from New South Wales Labor. They did a commission into, is it really efficient to go and look into consultants? And the conclusion was, no. It's double the price of getting the public sector to do the same job. But that same job will get done because the government still needs to function. It's just that they privately outsource it to consultancy firms. So when they're sitting there and saying, oh, public sector is growing, the reason that the public sector is growing mostly, honestly, is because the Labor Party has saved us billions of dollars from being spent on consultants. And instead they thought, we'll get the public sector to do exactly the same job cheaper, more efficiently, and better. Oh, shit.
Freedom was fading. Today, we are witnessing a moment when the long march of the state over the individual is being rejected in country after country after country. I am referring, of course, to the collapse of the collectivist model of the party state and the dawn of a new era of freedom. I believe that we are...
Man, how scary is it that they have pictures of world leaders, insane world leaders, the Argentina guy, but they also are standing behind a creepily lit mansion while they're all there in candlelight. Gentlemen, I present to you our plan for the future. Behold, the guy that clearly has mental issues. We want someone like that leading the country.
Genuinely fighting a crucial battle for the future of humanity. We must understand where we stand and what we are up against in order to know where we want to go. Throughout the world, Western societies face the same problem and the same negative enemy, a political class that extracts more and more resources from citizens through taxes in order to implement a model of bureaucratic expansion. A political class.
It's really weird listening to their worldview, isn't it? Because first off, guys, you're a company. Why are you so political? Why is the mining industry so political? And on top of that, they've been in a 100-year winning streak at this point. Why do they constantly feel like power is slipping away from them? And that they're also at the vanguard of this brand new era of ushering in a new world where they're still killing it? Why do they have this view? And what do they think is really the massive difference of the new era is coming? What is it? Peter Dutton. What's Peter Dutton? Basically exactly the same policies as Tony Abbott. It's going to be amazing. All right, hang on, here we go. Which Argentine guy is that? You know, the Argentinian guy, whatever the president is.
Class who does not possess a crystal ball, but that seeks to regulate every aspect of people's lives, honouring one of the maxims of Benito Mussolini's fascism. Within the state, everything. Outside the state, nothing. And nothing against the state. This political class or bureaucracy is an extended caste whose members, beyond superficial differences, share the fundamental idea of the implementation of the advance of the state over individuals. That's over you and over me. They are all...
But what do you want in return? What is your ideal society? Is it just to cut the government? Just to change that chainsaw guy? Is that it? Because it really seems like your alternative to the government is just to have a corporate government. That's it. You just want, because you basically can set up your own shitty version of the government as the mining giants that you are. You do have the capital for that. You do have the infrastructure and investments. And what is that? That is just another form of bureaucracy. It's a much worse, much scarier form of bureaucracy. But that seems to be what they're gunning for.
Those who, out of financial self-interest, or are immersed in ideological propaganda devoid of common sense, or are naive to where such path leads.
Not common anymore, common sense.
Work for the interests of the state. The traditionally left media, the bureaucratic, non-entrepreneurial businessmen or power and or favour seekers, the generations of permanent bureaucrats who are not elected, and their academic institutions that provide the theoretical framework and propaganda for state expansion. And all those who in some way belong to the cult of world collectivism. And of course, this includes the traditionally political parties which, regardless of their name, follow the fundamental thesis that more state is better. In Argentina, for example, we had a political system made up of 50 shades of socialism. In the United States, there was the illusion of bipartisanship, with a Democratic Party that set the agenda and a Republican Party incapable of confronting it. That is, until the arrival of President Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's honestly quite strange watching our overlords, because they have this weird simp worship of overseas leaders. These are the guys that are supposed to be as patriotic as it gets. The mining industry is the backbone of Australia. The economy builder. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have the movie Red Dog. These guys are always endlessly simping about the Argentinian president and Trump. And why are they always simping about them? I think it's just because of the vibe of them. They don't ever seem to really have any grounded opinions on this. They're very, very, very political. Endlessly, they're constantly whining about being regulated by the Labor Party. Endlessly. But then they're constantly also just saying, oh, here's our different worldview. The Republicans sucked for some reason at some point in history. They only stopped sucking when they had a really charismatic Riz Lord at the top. That was it. But if you go and watch anything that Donald Trump has implemented, so we're banning plastic straws, and then you just see the CEO of petrochemical companies behind him saying, I personally think this is a great executive order. It's all just standard Republican stuff. And also just a very strange view of things to say that the Democrats in the United States are the ones that are pushing the agenda forward, and they're the ones that are controlling the narrative in the United States. When you have the Republicans that frequently, obviously they got it recently, but the popular vote they usually never get, they are the ones that have an explicit strategy of going after the courts. They don't seem to really care that much about winning elections. They care only about winning elections more so that they can stack the courts. These are the people that are setting the narrative. We know for a fact, I remember reading something the other day that was like, look, if Fox News didn't exist, just Fox News by itself, the Republican presidential vote would be like 4% lower. What the hell is he talking about? That the Democrats are the ones that set the narrative in the United States. It's all feel. It's all feel about Donald Trump. I wish that I had his Riz, and that's why he's awesome. They also obviously get some general sense that, yeah, as soon as he's in, he just cuts back the government to just a guy holding a briefcase with the nuclear codes. That's awesome too. But I don't understand why they throw the rest of the Republican Party under the bus. Donald Trump is just the Republican Party, but with Trump flavoring.
President Trump is an outsider, just like me, because the task before us, the challenge before us, is not for
I've never heard someone unironically make that sentence before. Donald Trump is an outsider, like me. You know, the former president of the United States, the current one as well. He's an outsider, like me. I'm, both of us, rebels. Rebels with a cause, though. I can't really articulate what the cause is. It's something about cutting government, that's it. But I don't really understand what government is. I just know that it's bad. Because Mussolini said that the state is good at some point in his life. That's why it sucks.
Traditional politicians who have long lived their lives off the system. Patriotic leaders who owe
Look at
nothing
this.
to anyone.
It's
who are
Hancock Prospecting is weirdly culty. It's really scary. They just keep blasting across these huge projectiles, pictures of their heroes. And, of course, Gina Reinhardt, I don't even know if she's there. I think she just wants worship, kind of knowing that it's there. Just this Mr. Burns character, if you turn your head, all of Australia has written out your name in candles. Bad, no time. Look at this photo. Look at that. It's so scary how much time she spends with Donald Trump, because it's also this thing of, aren't you the president of the United States? Don't you have better things to do than to talk to this gimp? Like, Gina Reinhardt is a real idiot. I don't understand why she's so important to you. Did she donate that much money to the Republican cause? Why does he have so much access to? Why? It's, okay, this is what freaks me out about Hancock Prospecting, right? This is what freaks me out about them. Gina Reinhardt is part of the MAGA cult, massively. To the degree that she must be donating money to Donald Trump. Why else would he be hanging out with her? There is no reason. But all of Hancock Prospecting is in a cult-like worship of Gina Reinhardt, and then she moves that cult-like worship to Donald Trump. And also the other thing is, I really don't understand how you have the time to run the mining industry and just sit there and endlessly, I think, get mad about tweets online. You have that visage about you now, don't you, Gina? You have that same angry boomer thing of sitting there all day. Hey, government. Hey, Trump makes me happy. I hate the government. Seems to be what she does with her life.
who are not compromised by the vices of the system and who know that change is more important than power and financial favours to the government's chosen ones, which obviously had to be financed by the taxpayers. The modern state has more tools, which have grown in sophistication over time. We're not talking about an obvious state like the neo-fascist or communist one, but rather a subtle and insidious state which advances on the individual through art, propaganda, and cultural infiltration. I'm talking about the financing of academia, encouraging the elaboration of studies that justify the implementation of interventionist public policies, and the direction of media outlets. I'm talking about the subsidies to culture to produce propaganda, and here in the United States, the USAID scandal, which allocated millions of dollars from taxpayers to finance everything from magazines and television channels to DEI and to electoral fraud.
Do they know what they're talking about anymore? It's honestly the WA heat, isn't it? They just go off on a boomer rant. And it obviously is always going to get directed back to DEI. And it's just, how can you keep complaining about millions of dollars when you're Hancock Prospecting? I'm sure that event that you're putting on now cost millions of dollars. These are peanuts to you. The thing is, I think they are genuinely concerned about it as well. But they're genuinely concerned about what is absolute pennies, skerricks of pennies, just the dust of pennies of the US budget in Australia, in Western Australia.
The governments with discriminatory aspirations, among many other aberrations, including the agenda of climate paranoia, the excesses of gender ideological, and the lab research that led to the creation of COVID.
What?
In short, I'm talking about a global network.
He just slips that conspiracy in at the end. Look, dude, I'm not one of those people that's outright just going to dismiss that, no, the COVID lab, it's just absolute lies. But it's not a proven thing. Oh, it's just nothing but Facebook feeds feeding these people, and then they are spending millions and millions of dollars re-convincing themselves of what they saw on Facebook. And yet they have these sick houses. Oh, it's so annoying because it is just your boomer uncle. It is your boomer uncle that, for whatever reason, this one gets a sick house. I just don't understand how the world works anymore. It's all confusing to me. They don't seem to have any consistent narratives. They don't seem to really want anything anymore. They seem to have so much control over society, but they have this general sense that power seems to be slipping away from them, even though it clearly isn't. That they're not even making economic sense anymore. They're ranting about Doge findings of alleged, very, very scary information as well. DEI the dip in somewhere in America. What do you give a shit?
Of influence and opinion, paid for with its citizens' taxes. A propaganda apparatus unprecedented in human history. Perhaps the largest political scandal that we have ever seen. Beyond their obvious incompetence, the political class is not dedicated to solving problems. After all, a problem solved is an area from which the state must withdraw. On the contrary, the political class is dedicated to perpetuating problems and thus living off them forever. That is why they live, creating new problems, installing them from their propaganda machines to then offer themselves as a solution. And what does that solution consist of? The implementation of regulations that cause even more problems.
Redacted just gave me $50 to say, hey, Jordan, thanks for the good road work, including your environmental issues. Great to hear that you and Mr. Mitchell's history are collaborating together. Can't wait for that. Yeah, he's a good boy. I really do like Mr. M. He's a very good boy. And he's absolutely right, which is that you understand the history of this country, all of a sudden you're just less of an arrogant piece of shit. I really do think that that's the way to look at things. Sorry, I will continue on with this though.
And expense to be added by more regulations again. In medicine, the term iatrogenesis is used to refer to the damage suffered by a patient as a consequence of medical care. It could be said then that the statist regime consists of iatrogenesis as a state policy. Today, those of us who want to dismantle this dangerous or insane system are called anti-democratic. But again, this is a misinterpretation of words, something very typical of the left. They do not call democracy the government of the people, by the people, but the paradigm of unlimited state expansion that they themselves then administer. For them,
Who is this person? See, this is what you sound like, Reddit, when you just endlessly trail off your words like statist, socialist utopia. This is what the left does. You're just that, but like you've got different words in your head that are good or bad. That's all that's happening there. But this is just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. He's not saying anything. He's just buzzwords.
democracy only exists if they win what they want, so they can subject the people to their regulations. But when they are the electoral minority, the majority's choice somehow becomes undemocratic. In fact, many of those who accuse us of being undemocratic were not even elected. They make decisions that affect billions of people around the world. They are accountable to no one but themselves, and they cannot be ousted by popular vote. And yet, they talk to us about democracy. They say that President Trump and I are a danger to democracy, but in reality, they are saying that we are a danger to them. We are a danger to the state party, to those who live off its unlimited expansion, to those who want an individual dependent and subject to their regulatory whims. And they know they are right. We are their worst nightmare. We come for their privileges, having been elected by the majority of each of our people, and the clear mandate to take away from them a power that should not belong to them. Today, our countries, Argentina and the United States, need to go through a second independence. The first freed us from European monarchies. The second will free us from the tyranny of the state party. That is why we have put effort into identifying it, because you cannot fight against that you do not know. Having a well-defined enemy is a fundamental aspect of our cultural battle. Now we know it, we have won the elections, and we are in the process of disarming its tool of perpetual oppression. We do not have any secret formula to disarm its Leviathan. Only knowing humans
all right, yeah, shut up.
taxpayers' money to keep us subjugated.
Oh,
They
God, how
exercise
cringy was
fierce
that moment?
resistance to
Look, all right, I'm going to fast forward. Let's see. Apparently there's some performances at the end. Yes, all right, we're watching this and we're finishing off.
Singing.
How could you not? What a bang. What a way to end the
At
party.
Sandy Ridge, singing at Port Hedland, singing at Roy Hill, or singing here too. So can we please, as you saw them on Sky News, and soon to be on TikTok,
As seen on Sky News. Get ready for entertainment.
for all of their kids to actually show to their mates at school, can we please invite the incredible, the awesome, the one and only Roy Hill Choir?
In the heart of the outback, where the iron ore lies, our chairman's vision guides us, reaching for the sky.
It is a cult! It is a cult! Oh my God, she forces her employees to get into little choir grounds, and they're so happy about it too. Look at these old women. Yay, I'm part of the Gina Reinhardt cheer squad. Oh my God, they make songs about how awesome she is. After she sits there and rails endlessly about how much she gets other people. She can't even be bothered to sit there and talk about how much she likes the Argentinian president. And the American president gets some other South African. She pays him to do it. Yeah, I'll give you citizenship if you do it. Come over here. Now, let's go on to there's guys in there. It's even sadder looking at their outfits. And their little ties.
Serving staff shining year after year. We celebrate your service with pride and cheer.
Well, she did the primary school thing. She did the primary school teacher. Smile, everybody. Remember, you're happy. This is gold. Oh, look, you don't have to do that to me. I am a happy boy. Oh, this is terrifying. Ah, they're all doing it. Oh, that's so scary. Dude, even the people in the audience, they can sit there and talk about state Stalinism and how much they hated the government so much. But come on. How Soviet Union is that? That's right. Everybody's happy, especially your mom. We know she's in the audience. Also, you know that you are not working very hard as a composer if you have time to do that. And just remember, at the Stanford, you get extra points for presentation. So everybody has to have a nice hat. And a tie. You've got to have everything in right. Jared, I told you 1,000 times, put your tag underneath your shirt. Underneath! Oh, look. Look, it's just flailing in the wind. Oh, you've ruined the whole aesthetic.
Your efforts build our future, shaping this land, creating jobs and wealth, securing our fate.
See, what is happening to everyone there? Do they know that they are in jeopardy of being fired? Because they all have that really creepy Scientology. Yeah, everything's fine. They've got that. All of them. The people that are filming. I don't even know why they're filming. Are they filming just so they can say, look, I was the good employee. Do I get the credit points?
Mining industry makes Australia great. To our loyalty, you help us find our place. Your commitment and strength set a steady pace. The mining world.
I feel a bit mean saying this, but come on. None of them can hold a tune, can they? It does sound like your primary school choir. When you walked out, yeah, I think we did pretty good, and then you do get the recording and listen back to it. Ugh. I don't think I know what a flat note is properly.
You make Australia great. Your hard work and dedication, we celebrate. All the long-serving hands, 10 years or more, your contribution we can't ignore. In Hancock companies, your loyalty shines bright. Together we build, together we unite. To our loyalty, you help us find our place.
Are you hearing this? dude, this corporation, as much as they can sit there and rail about how they're these bastions of freedom, everything about this reigns on two levels at once. It reeks of Soviet-style command shit. It also reeks of cult-like behavior. Really culty. Who the hell has an entire chorus about loyalty embedded into a song, forced to be played while you're not even there? I don't even think that Gina's there, unless she can't even be bothered and she's just pigging out in the corner. I need a cake. I don't care, I've heard this song before. Make him play it anyway.
Your commitment and strength set a steady pace. The mighty world, we make Australia great. Your hard work and dedication, we celebrate.
Sorry, folks, I'll be right back.
Here's to the raffle.
Sorry, wait.
Let the fun begin with hopes and cheers, shouting, "Win, baby, win!" To our long-serving staff, we raise a cheer for all you've done. We thank you here. Baby,
Well, that was great. Hey, soon to be on TikTok. I'm sure that that's going to go gangbusters, don't you? I mean, if there was an ideal world that we lived in, yes, it would. That was very sad. That was very, very sad. It was everything that I hoped for and more. Could you have imagined that would have been that toadying? Could you have imagined? I suppose we could. It always just surprises me every time I see anything out of Hancock Prospecting. What a strange little alternate universe this entire place is. And I guess that's just what happens when you have unfettered money. You slowly go la 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 la.
in the heart of the Pilbara, where the iron ore gleams, Roy Hill stands tall, fulfilling our dreams. With a spirit so strong and a vision so clear, we gather together to spread birthday cheer. Here we go! Drill, baby, drill. Dig, baby, dig. Our pride in Roy Hill makes our hearts grow so big. With the chairman's guidance, we reach new heights. Many thanks to all, and may our dreams take flight. From the
Good stuff. Good stuff. Drill, baby, drill the song. Why isn't this on Sky News more? Guys, let's be honest. You've got a lot of time to fill. You can't just be whinging endlessly about Anthony Albanese and he made the wrong hand gestures that day that make him seem like a weak leader. You have other things in your lineup. That's what makes a great show. Yeah? And I think that if you really made this your all-star lineup, surely you can get rid of Chris Kenny at this point. This is far more interesting than that. And it gets the message through in a musical, fun way. I mean, this basically is just Sky News the musical. I'm a fan.
Line to the rail and the port by the sea. We work hand in hand in unity. With safety and care. We strive every day to make sure we shine in every way. You know it. Drill, baby, drill. Dig, baby, dig. Out riding Roy Hill makes our hearts grow so big. With the chairman's guidance, we reach new heights.
Can you imagine being in your 50s or 60s and singing, with the chairman's guidance, we reach new heights? I mean, I'm pretty sure even in cults, they don't make grandmas sing that stuff. That's for the kids. Oh, a real wash of empathy just went over me thinking about the fact that I can't imagine being at that age and going, yay, I love Gina. I'm going to sit through hours and hours of boring, catered shows of shitty slides of Elon Musk with chainsaws. And then I'm going to shine. But even then, Gina's the star. You're only allowed to be on stage if you are endlessly simping Gina Reinhardt. And this is business. Isn't it strange also thinking that Gina Reinhardt obviously at some point thought, how about we start a choir for the employees? That'll raise the cheer. They should sing for me too.
Many thanks to all, and may our dreams take flight. To our dear chairman, we give our thanks for leading us forward through all the ranks. Your wisdom and strength light up our way. We honor you greatly on this special day. As the years go by and the future nears, we reflect on our journey with joy and with cheer. Together we've built a legacy grand. Roy Hill forever, united we stand. Drill, baby, drill. Dig, baby, dig. Out riding Roy Hill makes our hearts grow so big. With the chairman's guidance, we reach new heights.
Hang on one sec. Oh, yeah, sorry, the mic was off after that. Well, anyway, that was very enlightening. I think that we all learned something today, which is that Hancock prospecting is even scarier than we thought. We're becoming connoisseurs on this, aren't we? I wish we weren't. My big gripe, as always, when it comes to the mining overlords of this country is I just wish that they were smarter people. I really do. I really hate the fact that they're so dumb that they are just a bunch of MAGA supporters that you would see at a NASCAR, you know? Like just one of those like, yeah, introducing Donald Trump while he's driving around in a motorcade. Yeah, Trump! And then you have Gina Reinhardt, who's worth billions of dollars next to that here. Yeah, Trump! This is the woman that controls this country. She has the wealth to do that. She has the wealth to instill her will into the opposition to the point that Peter Dutton reluctantly has to sit there while she goes, I think we should have our own Doge. And then Peter Dutton has to go, oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. Isn't it scary that a lot of the intellectual hardware of this country, when it comes to the quote-unquote Liberal Party here, their job is to try and get her nonsensical tweets and try and jam them into the bureaucracy to make that reality. The mind of this woman that needs her own employees to be dressed up in, let's be honest, quite embarrassing attire and sing back to her how amazing she is at the end of her simp fest that goes for hours on end, which is just a slideshow of Elon Musk cutting shit with a chainsaw. Isn't it terrifying thinking about that being the level of intelligence that runs this country? Honestly, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If the mining industry of this country was more intelligent, I would settle just for that. At this point, you know, they've clearly won. They won 100 years ago. That's just how things work. Private capital starts pooling in on itself, and then they just become this behemoth. But what is scary is the fact that you become so rich that you don't need to be smart anymore. That's what freaks me out. And so you start getting that. Whereas they should be looking at things like, say, the Future Made in Australia project, which is just making Australia a manufacturing base and realizing, oh, that means that we can sell all of our minerals to all of these factories to produce things that will be worth way more than us just digging rocks out of the ground and getting China to do it for us. We could be part of that entire production line. We would be rulers of the world as opposed to just backwater barons that we are here. But they're too stupid. Instead, they sit there and go, oh, yeah, more happy. Be happier while you do that. This is what consumes Gina Reinhardt. You're not cheery enough when talking about how awesome I am. Sorry, singing about how awesome she is. Anyway, quite educational. Thank you very much for that, as always. It's always great when we get a little untitled video from Hancock Prospecting. It always exceeds expectation. And everybody else, I thank you for your company over this last 3 hours and 17 minutes. As always, it has been a pleasure. I will see you next time, and thank you for watching these streams. Toodles.